Good evening. Welcome to week 12 of PLAGUESPEARE and Company. Tonight we are happy to finish up the first tetralogy of the Henriade series. Over the last 4 weeks we've presented Richard II, Henry IV, part 1 and 2, and tonight we are pleased to bring you Henry V. Our thanks go out to all of our actors who have and continue to make this series possible in all our readings. I hope you enjoy our presentation of King Henry V.
Oh, for a muse of fire that would ascend the brightest heaven of invention, a kingdom for a stage, princes to act, and monarchs to behold the swelling scene. Then should the warlike Harry, like himself, assume the port of Mars, and at his heels, leashed in like hounds, should famine, sword, and fire crouch for employment. But pardon, gentles all, that flat, unraised spirits that hath dared on this unworthy scaffold to bring forth so great an object. Can this cockpit hold the vasty fields of France? Or may we cram within this wooden ode the very casques that did affright the air at Agincourt? Oh, pardon. Since a crooked figure may attest in little place a million, and let us, ciphers to this great account, on your imaginary forces work. Suppose within the girdle of these walls are now confined two mighty monarchies, whose high and upreared and abutting fronts the perilous narrow ocean parts asunder. Piece out our imperfections with your thoughts. Into 1,000 parts divide one man, and make imaginary puissance. Think, when we talk of horses, that you see them printing their proud hoofs in the receiving earth, for 'tis your thoughts that now must deck our kings, carry them here and there, jumping o'er times, turning the accomplishments of many years into an hourglass. For which supply, admit me, chorus, to this history, who prologue-like your humble patience pray, gently to hear, kindly to judge our play.
My lord, I'll tell you that self-bill is urged, which in the 11th hour of the last king's reign was like, and it had indeed against us passed, but that the scrambling and unquiet time did push it out of farther question.
But how, my lord, shall we resist it now?
Well, it must be thought on. If it pass against us, we lose the better half of our possession. For all the temporal lands which men devout by testament have given to the church would they strip from us, being valued thus as much as would maintain to the king's honor full 15 earls and 1,500 knights, 6,200 good esquires, and to relief of lezars and weak age of indigent faint souls past corporal toil, 100 almshouses right well supplied, and to the coffers of the king beside 1,000 pounds by the year. Thus runs the bill.
This would drink deep.
'Twould drink the cup and all.
But what prevention?
Would the king is full of grace and fair regard,
And a true lover of the Holy Church.
or the courses of his youth promised it not. The breath no sooner left his father's body, but that his wildness, mortified in him, seemed to die too. Yea, at that very moment, consideration like an angel came and whipped the offending Adam out of him, leaving his body as a paradise to envelop and contain celestial spirits. Never was such a sudden scholar made. Never came reformation in a flood with such a heady current scouring faults. Nor never hydra-headed willfulness so soon did lose his seat, and all at once, as in this king.
We are blessed in the change.
Hear him, but reason in divinity, and all admiring with an inward wish you would desire the king were made a prelate. Hear him debate of commonwealth affairs, you would say it hath been all in all his study. List his discourse of war, and you shall hear a fearful battle rendered you in music. Turn him to any cause of policy, the Gordian knot of it he will unloose, familiar as his garter. That when he speaks, the air, a chartered libertine is still, and the mute wonder lurketh in men's ears to steal his sweet and honeyed sentences. So that the art and practic part of life must be the mistress to this theoric, which is a wonder how his grace should glean it, since his addiction was to courses vain, his companies unlettered, rude, and shallow, his hours filled up with riots, banquets, sports, and never noted in him any study, any retirement, any sequestration from open haunts and popularity.
The strawberry grows underneath the nettle, and wholesome berries thrive and ripen best, neighbored by fruit of baser quality. And so the prince obscured of his contemplation under the veil of wildness, which, no doubt, grew like the summer grass, fastest by night, unseen, yet crescive in its faculty.
It must be so, for miracles are ceased, and therefore we must needs admit the means how things are perfected.
But, my good lord, how now for mitigation of this bill urged by the Commons? Doth his majesty incline to it, or no?
He seems indifferent, or rather swaying more upon our part than cherishing the exhibitors against us. For I have made an offer to his majesty upon our spiritual convocation and in regard of causes now in hand, which I have opened to his grace at large as touching France, to give a greater sum than ever at one time the clergy yet did to his predecessors part withal.
How did this offer seem received, my lord?
Oh, with good acceptance of his majesty, save that there was no time enough to hear, as I perceived his grace would fain have done, the severals and unhidden passages of his true titles to some certain dukedoms, and generally to the crown and seat of France, derived from Edward, his great-grandfather.
What was the impediment that broke this off?
The French ambassador upon that instant craved audience. And the hour, I think, is come to give him hearing. Is it 4 o'clock?
It is.
Then go we in to know his embassy, which I would with a ready guess declare before the Frenchmen speak a word of it.
I'll wait upon you. I long to hear it.
Where is my gracious lord of Canterbury?
Not here in presence.
Send for him, good uncle.
Shall we call in the ambassador, my liege?
Not yet, my cousin. We would be resolved before we hear him of some things of weight that task our thoughts concerning us in France.
God and the angels guard your sacred throne and make you long become it.
Sure, we thank you. My learned lord, we pray you to proceed and justly and religiously unfold why the law Salic that they have in France, or should not, bar us in our claim. And God forbid, my dear and faithful lord, that you should fashion, rest, or bow your reading, or nicely charge your understanding soul with opening titles miscreate, whose right suits not in native colors with the truth. For God doth know how many now in health shall drop their blood in approbation of what your reverence shall incite us to. Therefore, take heed how you impawn our person, how you awake our sleeping sword of war. We charge in you, in the name of God, take heed. For never two such kingdoms did contend without much fall of blood, whose guiltless drops are every one a woe, a sore complaint against him whose wrongs gives edge unto the swords that make us such waste in brief mortality. Under this conjuration speak, my lord, for we will hear, note, and believe in heart what you speak is in your conscience washed as pure as sin with baptism.
Then hear me, gracious sovereign, and your peers, that owe yourselves, your lives, and services to this imperial throne. There is no bar to make against your highness claim to France, but this, which they produce from Pharamond. In terram salicam mulieris ne succident. No woman shall succeed in Salic land, which Salic land the French unjustly glows to be the realm of France, and Pharamond, the founder of this law and female bar. Yet their own authors faithfully affirm that the land Salic is in Germany, between the floods of Sala and Elba, where Charles the Great, having subdued the Saxons, there left behind and settled certain French, who, holding in disdain the German women for some dishonest manners of their life, established then this law, to wit, no female should be inheritrix in Salic land, which Salic, as I said, twixt Elba and Sala, is at this day in Germany called Meissen. Then doth it well appear the Salic law was not devised for the realm of France, nor did the French possess the Salic land until 421 years after defunction of King Pharamond, highly supposed the founder of this law, who died within the year of our redemption, 426. And Charles the Great subdued the Saxons and did seat the French upon beyond the river Sala in the year 805. Besides, their writers say King Pepin, which deposed Childeric, did as their general, being descended of Blithild, which was daughter to King Clotaire, make claim and title to the crown of France. Hugh Capet also, who usurped the crown of Charles the Duke of Lorraine, sole heir male of the true line and stock of Charles the Great, to fine his title with some shows of truth, though in pure truth it was corrupt and not, conveyed himself as the heir to the Lady Lingaire, daughter to Charlemagne, who was the son to Louis the Emperor and Louis the son of Charles the Great. Also King Louis X, who was sole heir to the usurper Capet, could not keep quiet in his conscience, wearing the crown of France, till satisfied that fair Queen Isabel, his grandmother, was lineal of the Lady Ermengarde, daughter to Charles, the aforesaid Duke of Lorraine, by the which marriage the line of Charles the Great was reunited to the crown of France, so that, as clear as is the summer sun, King Pepin's title and Hugh Capet's claim, King Louis his satisfaction, all appear to hold in right and title of the female. So do the kings of France unto this day. Howbeit they would hold up this Salic law to bar your highness claiming from the female, and rather choose to hide them in a net than amply to embar their crooked titles usurped from you and your progenitors.
But may I, with right and conscience, make this claim?
The sin upon my head, dread sovereign, for in the book of Numbers is it writ, when the man dies, let the inheritance descend unto the daughter. Gracious Lord, stand for your own, unwind your bloody flag, look back into your mighty ancestors, Go, my dread lord, to your great-grandsire's tomb, from whom you claim. Invoke his warlike spirit and your great-uncle's Edward the Black Prince, who on the French ground played a tragedy, making defeat on the full power of France, whiles his most mighty father on a hill stood smiling to behold his lions whelp forage in blood of French nobility. O noble English, that could entertain with half their forces the full pride of France, and let another half stand laughing by, all out of work and cold for action.
Awake, remembrance of these valiant dead, and with your puissant arm review their feats. You are their heir. You sit upon their throne. The blood and courage that renowned them runs in your veins, and my thrice puissant liege is in the very May-morn of his youth, ripe for exploit and mighty enterprises.
Your brother kings and monarchs of the earth do all expect that you should rouse yourself, as did the former lions of your blood.
They know your grace hath cause and means and might. So hath your highness. Never king of England had nobles richer and more loyal subjects, whose hearts have left their bodies here in England and lie pavilioned in the fields of France.
Oh, that their bodies follow my dear liege, with blood and sword and fire to win your right. In aid whereof we of the spiritually will raise your highness such a mighty sum as never did the clergy at one time bring in to any of your ancestors.
We must not only arm to invade the French, but lay down some of our proportions to defend against the Scot, who will make road upon us with all advantages.
They of those marches, gracious sovereign, shall be a wall sufficient to defend our inland from the pilfering borderers.
We do not mean the coursing snatchers only, but fear the main intendment of the Scot, who hath been still a giddy neighbor to us. For you shall read that my great-grandfather never went with his forces into France, but that the Scot, on his unfurnished kingdom, came pouring like the tide into a breach, with ample and brim fullness of his force, galling the gleaned land with hot assays, girding with grievous siege castles and towns, that England, being empty of defense, hath shook and trembled at the ill neighborhood.
She hath been then more feared than harmed, my liege. For hear her but exampled by herself, when all her chivalry hath been in France, and she a mourning widow of her nobles, she hath herself not only well defended, but taken and impounded as a stray the King of Scots, whom she did send to France to kill King Edward's fame with prisoner kings, and make her chronicle as rich with praise as with the ooze and bottom of the sea, with sunken rack and sumless treasuries.
But there's a saying very old and true. If that you will France win, then with Scotland first begin. For once the eagle, England, begin and pray to her unguarded nest, the weasel, Scot, comes sneaking, and so sucks her princely eggs, playing the mouse in absence of the cat, to tame the havoc more than she can eat.
It follows then the cat must stay at home. Yet that is but a crushed necessity, since we have locks to safeguard necessaries, and pretty traps to catch the petty thieves. While that the armed hand doth fight abroad, the advised head defends itself at home. For government, though high and low and lower, put into parts, doth keep in one consent, congreeing in full and natural close, like music.
Therefore doth heaven divide the state of man in diverse functions, setting endeavor in continual motion, to which is fixed as an aim or but obedience. For so work the honeybees, creatures that by a rule in nature teach the act of order to a peopled kingdom. They have a king and officers of sorts, where some like magistrates correct at home, others like merchants venture trade abroad, others like soldiers armed in their stings make boot upon the summer's velvet buds, which pillage they with merry march bring home to the tent royal of their emperor, who busied in his majesty surveys the singing masons building roofs of gold, the civil citizens kneading up of the honey, the poor mechanic porters crowding in their heavy burdens at his narrow gate, the sad-eyed justice with his surly arm delivering o'er to executors pale, the lazy yawning drone. I this infer that many things having full reference to one consent may work contrariously, as many arrows loosed several ways come to one mark, as many ways meet in one town, as many fresh streams meet in one salt sea, as many lines close in the dial's center, so may 1,000 actions once afoot end in one purpose and be all well borne without defeat. Therefore to France, my liege, divide your happy England into 4, whereof take you 1 quarter into France, and you withal shall make all Gallia shake. If we, with thrice much such powers left at home, cannot defend our own doors from the dog, let us be worried and our nation lose the name of hardiness and policy.
Call in the messengers sent from the Dauphin. Now, are we well resolved, and by God's help and yours, the noble sinews of our power, France being ours, we'll bend it to our awe or break it all to pieces, or there we'll sit, ruling in large and ample empery o'er France and all her almost kingly dukedoms, or lay these bones in an unworthy urn, tombless, with no remembrance over them. Either our history shall with full mouth speak freely of our acts, or else our grave, like Turkish mute, shall have a tongueless mouth, not worshipped with a waxen epitaph. Now, are we well prepared to know the pleasure of our fair cousin Dauphin? For we hear your greeting is from him, not from the king.
May it please your majesty to give us leave freely to render what we have in charge? Or shall we sparingly show you far off the Dauphin's meaning and our embassy?
We are no tyrant, but a Christian king, unto whose grace our passion is as subject as is our wretches fettered in our prisons. Therefore, with frank and with uncurbed plainness, tell us the Dauphin's mind.
Thus then, in a few. Your Highness, lately sending into France, did claim some certain dukedoms in the right of your great predecessor, King Edward III. In answer of which claim, the prince, our master, says that you savor too much of your youth, and bids you be advised. There's naught in France that can be with nimble Galliard one. You cannot revel into dukedoms there. He therefore sends you meter for your spirits, this ton of treasures, and in lieu of this, desires you let the dukedoms that you claim hear no more of you. This the Dauphin speaks.
What treasure, uncle?
Tennis balls, my liege.
We are glad the Dauphin is so pleasant with us. His present and your pains we thank you for. When we have matched our rackets to these balls, we will in France, by God's grace, play a set shall strike his father's crown into the hazard. Tell him he hath made a match with such a wrangler that all the courts of France will be disturbed with chases. And we understand him well. How he comes o'er us with our wilder days, not measuring what use we made of them. We never valued this poor seat of England, and therefore living hence did give ourselves to barbarous license, as 'tis ever common that men are merriest when they are from home. But tell the Dauphin, I will keep my state, be like a king, and show my sail of greatness when I do rouse me in my throne of France. For that I have laid by my majesty and plodded like a man for working days. But I will rise there with so full a glory that I will dazzle all the eyes of France, yea, strike the Dauphin blind to look on us. And tell the pleasant prince, this mock of his hath turned his balls to gunstones, and his soul shall stand sore charged for the wasteful vengeance that shall fly with them. For many 1,000 widows shall this his mock out of their dear husbands, mock mothers from their sons, mock castles down, and some are yet ungotten and unborn that shall have cause to curse the Dauphin's scorn. But this lies all within the will of God, to whom I do appeal, and in whose name tell you the Dauphin, I am coming on to venge me as I may, and to put forth my rightful hand in a well-hallowed cause. So get you hence in peace, and tell the Dauphin his jest will savor but of shallow wit, when thousands weep more than did laugh at it. Convey them with safe conduct. Very well.
This was a merry message.
We hope to make the sender blush at it. Therefore, my lords, omit no happy hour that may give furtherance to our expedition, for we have now no thought in us but France, save those to God that run before our business. Therefore, let our proportions for these wars be soon collected, all things thought upon that may with reasonable swiftness add more feathers to our wings, for God before will chide this Dauphin at his father's door. Therefore, let every man now task his thought, that this fair action may on foot be brought.
Now all the youth of England are on fire, and silken dalliance in the wardrobe lies. Now thrive the armorers, and honor's thought reigns solely in the breast of every man. They sell the pasture now to buy the horse, following the mirror of all Christian kings, with winged heels as English Mercuries. For now sits expectation in the air, and hides a sword from hilts unto the point, with crowns imperial, crowns and coronets, promised to Harry and his followers. The French, advised by good intelligence of this most dreadful preparation, shake in their fear, and with pale policy seek to divert the English purposes. Oh, England, a model to thy inward greatness, like little body with mighty heart. Oh, what might thou do that honor would thee do, were all thy children kind and natural? But see, thy fault France hath in thee found out. A nest of hollow bosoms, which he fills with treacherous crowns, and 3 corrupted men. 1, Richard, Earl of Cambridge, and the 2nd, Henry, Lord Scroop of Massam, and the 3rd, Sir Thomas Grey, Knight of Northumberland, have for the guilt of France, oh, guilt indeed, confirmed conspiracy with fearful France, and by their hands this grace of kings must die, if hell and treason hold their promise, ere he take ship for France and in Southampton. Linger your patience on, and we'll digest the abuse of distance for supply. The sum is paid, the traitors are agreed, the king is set from London, and the scene is now transported, gentles, to Southampton. There is the playhouse now, there must you sit, and thence to France shall we convey you safe, and bring you back, charming the narrow seas to give you gentle pass. For if we may, we'll not offend one stomach with our play, but till the king come forth, and not till then, unto Southampton do we shift our scene.
Well met, Corporal Nym.
Good morrow, Lieutenant Bardolph.
What, are ancient pistol and you friends yet?
For my part, I care not. I say little, but when time shall serve, there shall be smiles. But that shall be as it may. I dare not fight, but I will wink and hold out mine iron. It is a simple one, but what though? It will toast cheese, and it will endure cold as another man's sword will. And there's an end.
I will bestow a breakfast to make you friends, and we'll all be 3 sworn brothers to France. Let it be so, good Corporal Nin.
Faith, I will live so long as I may, that's certain of it. And when I cannot live any longer, I will do as I may. That is my rest. That is the rendezvous of it.
It is certain, Corporal, that he is married to Nell Quickly, and certainly she did you wrong, for you were troth plight to her.
I cannot tell. Things may be as they may. Men may sleep, and they may have their throats about them at that time. And some say knives have edges. It must be as it may. Though Patience be a tired mare, yet she will plod. There must be conclusions. Well, I cannot tell.
Here comes Ancient Pistol and his wife. Good Corporal, be patient here.
How now, mine host, Pistol?
Base tyke, call'st thou me host? Now, by gad's lugs, I swear I scorn the term, nor shall my Nell keep lodgers.
No, by my troth, not long, for we cannot lodge and board a dozen or 14 gentlewomen that lived honestly by the prick of their needles, but it will be thought we keep a bawdy house straight.
Ha!
Well, a day, lady, if he not be hewn now, we shall see willful adultery and murder committed.
Good Lieutenant, good Corporal, offer nothing here.
Pish!
Pish for thee, Iceland dog, thou prick-eared cur of Iceland.
Oh, good Corporal Nim, show thy valor and put up your sword.
Will you shog off? I would have you solus.
O soulless, egregious dog? Ah, viper vile, the soulless in thy most merveillous face, the soulless in thy teeth, and in thy throat, and in thy hateful lungs, yea, in thy maw, Purdy, and which is worse, within thy nasty mouth. I do retort, the soulless in thy bowels, for I can take, and Pistol's cock is up, and flashing fire will follow.
I am not Barbazon. You cannot conjure me. I have in humor to knock you indifferently. Well, if you grow foul with me, Pistol, I will scour you with my rapier as I may in fair terms. If you would walk off, I would prick your guts a little in good terms as I may, and that's the humor of it.
Ah, braggart vile and damned furious wight. The grave doth gape and doting death is near. Therefore, exhale.
Hear me, hear what I say. He that strikes the first stroke, I'll run him up to the hilts as I am a soldier.
An oath of mickle might, and fury shall abate. Give me thy fist, thy forefoot, to me give. Thy spirits are most tall.
I will cut thy throat one time or other in fair terms. That is the humor of it.
Coupler gorge, that is the word. I thee defy again, O hound of Crete. Think'st thou my spouse to get? No, to the spittle go, and from the powdering tub of infamy fetch forth a laser kite of Cressid's kind, and dull tear sheet she by name, and her espouse. I have, and I will hold the quondam quickly, for the only she. And, Pauca, there's enough too. Go to.
Mine host, Pistol, you must come to my master and your hostess. He is very sick and would to bed. Oh, good Bardolph, put thy face between his sheets and to the office of a warming pan. Faith, he's very ill.
Away, you rogue.
Oh, by my troth, he'll yield the crow a pudding one of these days. The king has killed his heart. Good husband, come home presently.
Come, shall I make you 2 friends? We must to France together. Why the devil should we keep knives to cut one another's throats?
Let floods o'erswell and fiends for food howl on.
You'll pay me the 8 shillings I one of you of betting.
Base is the slave that pays.
And now I will have. Now I will have. That's the humor of it.
As manhood shall compound, push home.
By this
come on.
sword, he that makes the first thrust, I'll kill him by this sword, I will.
Sword is an oath, and oaths must have their course.
Corporal Nym and thou wilt be friends. Be friends. And thou wilt not, why then be enemies with me too. Prithee, put up.
I shall have my 8 shillings I won of you at betting.
A noble shalt thou have,
Yeah.
and present pay. And liquor likewise will I give to thee, and friendship shall combine, and brotherhood. I'll live by Nym, and Nym shall live by me. Is not this just? For I shall sutler be unto the camp, and profits will accrue. Give me thy hand.
I shall have my noble.
In cash, most justly paid.
Well, there's the humor of it.
Oh, as ever you come of women coming quickly to Sir John. Oh, poor heart, he is so shaked with a burning quotidian tertian that it is most lamentable to behold. Sweet man, come to him.
The king hath run bad humors on the night. That's the even of it.
Nym, thou hast spoke the right. His heart is fracted and corroborate.
The king is a good king, but it must be as it may. He passes some humors and careers.
Let us condole the night. For lambkins, we will live.
For God, his grace is bold to trust these traitors.
They shall be apprehended by and by.
How smooth and even they do bear themselves, as if allegiance in their bosoms sate, crowned with faith and constant loyalty.
The king hath note of all that they intend by interception which they dream not of.
Nay, but the man that was his bedfellow, whom he hath dulled and cloyed with gracious favors, that he should for a foreign purse so sell his sovereign's life to death and treachery.
Now sits the wind fair, and we will aboard. My lord of Cambridge, and my kind lord of Masham, and you, my gentle knight, give me your thoughts. Think you not that the powers we bear with us will cut their passage through the force of France, doing the execution in the act for which we have in head assembled them?
Oh, no doubt, my liege, if each man do his best.
I doubt not that, since we are well persuaded we carry not a heart with us from hence that grows not in a fair consent with ours, nor leave not one behind that doth not wish success and conquest to attend on us.
Never was a monarch better feared and loved than is your majesty. There's not, I think, a subject that sits in heart grief and uneasiness under the sweet shade of your government.
True, those that were your father's enemies have steeped their galls in honey and do serve you with hearts great of duty and of zeal.
We therefore have great cause of thankfulness, and shall forget the office of our hands sooner than quittance of desert and merit, according to the weight and worthiness.
So service shall with steeled sinews toil, and labor shall refresh itself with hope to do your grace incessant services.
We judge no less. Uncle of Exeter, enlarge the man committed yesterday that railed against our person. We consider it was excess of wine that set him on, and on his more advice, we pardon him.
Oh, that's mercy, but too much security. Let him be punished, sovereign, lest example breed by his sufferance more of such a kind.
Oh, let us yet be merciful.
Well, so may your highness, and yet punish too.
Sir, you show great mercy if you give him life after the taste of much correction.
Oh, alas, your too much love and care of me are heavy orisons against this poor wretch. If little faults proceeding on distemper shall not be winked at, how shall we stretch our eye when capital crimes chewed, swallowed, and digested appear before us? We'll yet enlarge that man, though Cambridge, Scroop, and Grey, in their dear care and tender preservation of our person, would have him punished. And now, to our French causes. Who are the late commissioners?
I, one, my lord. Your highness bade me ask for it today.
So did you me, my liege.
And I, my royal sovereign.
Then Richard, Earl of Cambridge, there is yours. They're yours, Lord Scroop of Masham, and Sir Knight, Grey of Northumberland, the same as yours. Read them, and know I know your worthiness. My Lord of Westmoreland and Uncle Exeter, we will aboard tonight. Well, how now, gentlemen? What see you in those papers that you lose so much complexion? Look how they change. Their cheeks are paper. Why, what read you there that have so cowarded and chased your blood out of appearance?
I do confess my fault and do submit me to your highness mercy.
To which
We all appeal.
The mercy that was quick in us but late by your own counsel is suppressed and killed. You must not dare, for shame, to talk of mercy. For your own reasons turn into your bosoms as dogs upon their masters, worrying you. See you, my princes and my noble peers, these English monsters, my Lord of Cambridge here. You know how apt our love was to accord to furnish him with all appurtenance belonging to his honor, and this man hath for a few light crowns lightly conspired and sworn unto the practices of France to kill us here in Hampton, to the which this night, no less for bounty bound to us than Cambridge's, hath likewise scorned. But what shall I say to thee, Lord Scroop? Thou cruel, ingrateful, savage, and inhuman creature, thou that did bear the key of all my counsels, that knewst the very bottom of my soul, that almost mightst have coined me into gold, wouldst thou have practice on me for thy use? May it be possible that foreign hire could out of thee extract one spark of evil that might annoy my finger? 'Tis so strange that though the truth of it stands off as gross as black and white, my eye will scarcely see it. Treason and murder ever kept together as two yoke devils sworn to either's purpose, working so grossly in a natural cause that admiration did not whoop at them. But thou, 'gainst all proportion, didst bring in wonder to wait on treason and on murder. And whatsoever cunning fiend it was that wrought upon thee so preposterously hath got the voice in hell for excellence, and other devils that suggest by treasons do botch and bungle up damnation with patches, colors, and with forms being fetched from glistering semblances of piety. But he that tempered thee, bade thee stand up, gave thee no instance why thou shouldst do treason, unless to dub thee with the name of traitor. If that same demon that hath gulled thee thus should with his lion gait walk the whole world, he might return to the vasty Tartar back and tell the legions, oh, I can never win a soul so easy as that Englishman's. How hast thou with jealousy infected the sweetness of affiance? Show men dutiful? Why, so didst thou. Seem they grave and learned? Why, so didst thou. Come they of noble family? Why, so didst thou. Seem they religious? Why, so didst thou. Or are they spare in diet, free from gross passion, or of mirth or anger, constant in spirit, not swerving with the blood, garnished and decked in modest compliment, not working with the eye without the ear, and but in purged judgment, trusting neither? Such and so finely bolted didst thou seem, and thus thy fall hath left a kind of blot to mark the full-fraught man and best endued with some suspicion. I will weep for thee, for this revolt of thine, methinks, is like another fall of man. Their faults are open, arrest them to the answer of the law, and God acquit them of their practices.
I arrest thee of high treason by the name of Richard, Earl of Cambridge. I arrest thee of high treason by the name of Henry, Lord Scroop of Masham. I arrest thee of high treason by the name of Thomas Grey, Knight of Northumberland.
All purposes God justly hath discovered, and I repent my fault more than my death, which I beseech your highness to forgive, although my body paid for the price of it.
For me, the gold of France did not seduce, although I did admit it as a motive the sooner to effect what I intended. But God be thanked for prevention, which I in sufferance heartily will rejoice, beseeching God and you to pardon me.
Never did faithful subjects more rejoice at the discovery of most dangerous treason than I do at this hour joy over myself, prevented from damned enterprise. My fault, be not my body. Pardon, sovereign.
God quit you in his mercy. Hear your sentence. You have conspired against our royal person, joined with an enemy proclaimed, and from his coffers received the golden earnest of our death, wherein you would have sold your king to slaughter, his princes and his peers to servitude, his subjects to oppression and contempt, and his whole kingdom into desolation. Touching our person, seek we no revenge, but we, our kingdom's safety, must so tender, whose ruin you have sought, that to her laws we do deliver you. Get you therefore hence. Poor miserable wretches, to your death, the taste whereof God of his mercy give you patience to endure, and true repentance of all your dear offenses. Bear them hence. Now, lords, for France, the enterprise whereof shall be to you as us, like glorious. We doubt not of a fair and lucky war, since God so graciously hath brought to light this dangerous treason lurking in our way to hinder our beginnings. We doubt not now, but every rub is smoothed on our way. Then forth, dear countrymen, let us deliver our puissance into the hand of God, putting it straight into expedition, cheerly to see the signs of war advance. No king of England, if not king of France.
Prithee, honey, sweet husband, let me bring thee 2 stains.
No, for my manly heart doth earn. Bardolph, be blithe. Nym, rouse up thy vaunting veins. Boy, bristle thy courage up. For Falstaff, he is dead, and we must earn therefore.
Would I were with him where Samaria is, whether in heaven or in hell.
Nay, sure, he's not in hell. He's in Arthur's bosom, if ever a man went to Arthur's bosom. He made a finer end, and went away, and it had been any Christum child. He parted even just between 12 and 1, even at the turning of the tide, for after I saw him fumble with the sheets and play with the flowers and smile upon his fingers, and I knew there was but one way, for his nose was as sharp as a pen, and he babbled of green fields. "Oh, now, Sir John," quoth I, "what man, be of good cheer." So I cried out, God, 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 3 or 4 times. Now I, to comfort him, bid him he should not think of God. I hoped there was no need to trouble himself with any such thoughts yet. So he bade me lay more clothes on his feet. I put my hand into the bed and felt them, and they were as cold as any stone. And then I felt to his knees. Oh, and so up and upward, and all was as cold as any stone.
They say he cried out a sack.
Aye, that he did.
And of women.
Nay, that he did not.
Yes, that it did, and said they were devils incarnate.
Ah, he could never abide carnation. 'Twas a color he never liked.
Said once the devil would have him about women.
He did in some sort, indeed, handle women. But then he was rheumatic and talked of the whore of Babylon.
Do you not remember? I saw a flea stick upon Bartle's nose, and just said it was a black soul burning in hell.
Well, the fuel is gone that maintained that fire. It's all the riches I got in his service.
Come, shall we shog? The king will be gone from Southampton.
Come, let's away. My love, give me thy lips. Look to my chattels and movables. Let senses rule. The word is pitch and pay. Trust none. For oaths are straw, men's faiths are wafer cakes, and hold fast is the only dog, my duck. Therefore, Cavito be thy counselor. Go, clear thy crystals. Yoke fellows in arms, let us to France. Like horse leeches, my boys, to suck, the very blood to suck.
That's but unwholesome food, they say.
Touch her soft mouth and march.
Farewell, hostess.
Oh.
I cannot kiss, but that is the humor of it. But adieu.
Let huswifery appear. Keep close, I thee command.
Oh, well, adieu.
Thus comes the English with full power upon us, and more carefully it us concerns to answer royally in our defences. Therefore the Dukes of Berry and of Britain, of Brabant and Orleans shall make forth, and you, Prince Dauphin, with all swift dispatch, to line and new repair our towns of war, with men of courage and with means defendant. For England his approaches make as fierce as waters in the sucking of a gulf. It fits us then to be as provident as fear may teach us out of late examples left by the fatal and neglected English upon our fields.
My most redoubted father, it is most meet we arm us against the foe, for peace itself should not so dull a kingdom, though war nor no known quarrel were in question. But that defenses, musters, preparations should be maintained, assembled, and collected, as were a war in expectation. Therefore, I say 'tis meet we all go forth to view the sick and feeble parts of France, and let us do it with no show of fear. No, with no more than if we heard that England were busied with the Whitsun Morrison dance. For, my good liege, she is so idly kinged, her scepter so fantastically borne by vain, giddy, shallow, humorous youth, that fear attends her not.
Oh, peace, Prince Dauphin. You are too much mistaken in this king. Question, your grace, the late ambassadors, with what great state he heard their embassy, how well supplied with noble counselors, how modest in exception, and withal how terrible in constant resolution. And you shall find his vanities forespent were but the outside of the Roman Brutus, covering discretion with a coat of folly, as gardeners do with odor. Hide those roots that shall first spring and be most delicate.
Well, 'tis not so, my lord high constable, but though we think it is so, it is no matter. In cases of defense, 'tis best we weigh the enemy more mightily than he seems, so the proportions of defense are filled, which of a weak and miserly projection doth like a miser spoil his coat with scanting a little cloth.
Think we King Henry strong, and princes look you strongly armed to meet him. The kindred of him hath been fleshed upon us, and he is bred out of that bloody stain that haunted us in our familiar paths. Witness our too much memorable shame, when Cressy battle fatally was struck, and all our princes captive by the hand of that black name, Edward, Prince of Wales. Whiles that his mountainshire, on mountain standing up in the air, crowned with the golden sun, saw his heroical seed and smiled to see him. Mangle the work of nature and efface the patterns that by God and by French fathers hath 20 years has been made. This is a stem of that victorious stock. And let us fear the native nightmares and fate of him.
Ambassadors from King Harry of England do crave admittance to your majesty.
We'll give them present audience. Go and bring them.
Turn head and stop pursuit. For coward dogs most spend their mouths when what they seem to threaten runs far before them. Good my sovereign, take up the English short and let them know of what monarchy you are the head. Self-love, my liege, is not so vile a sin as self-neglecting.
From our brother of England.
From him, and thus he greets your majesty. He wills you in the name of God Almighty that you divest yourself and lay apart the borrowed glories that by gift of heaven, by law of nature and of nations, longs to him and to his heirs, namely the crown, and all wide-stretched honors that pertain by custom and the ordinance of times unto the crown of France. That you may know 'tis no sinister nor no awkward claim, picked from the wormholes of long vanished days, nor from the dust of old oblivion raked. He sends you this most memorable line, in every branch truly demonstrative, willing you overlook this pedigree, and when you find him evenly derived from his most famed of famous ancestors, Edward III, he bids you then resign your crown and kingdom, indirectly held from him, the native and true challenger.
Or what else follows?
Bloody constraint. For even if you hide the crown, even in your hearts, there will he rake for it. Therefore in fierce tempest is he coming, in thunder and in earthquake like a Jove, that if requiring fail, he will compel. And he bids you in the bowels of the Lord deliver up the crown, and to take mercy on the poor souls for whom this hungry war opens his vasty jaws, and on your head turning the widow's tears, the orphan's cries, the dead men's blood, the privy maiden's groans for husbands, fathers, and betrothed lovers that shall be swallowed in this controversy. This is his claim, his threatening, and my message. Unless the Dauphin be in presence here, to whom expressly I bring greeting to.
For us, we will consider of this further. But tomorrow shall you hear our full intent back to our brother of England.
For the Dauphin, I stand here for him. What to him from England?
Scorn and defiance, slight regard, contempt, and anything that may not misbecome the mighty sender doth he prize you at. Thus says my king. And if your father's highness do not in grant of all demands at large, sweeten the bitter mock you sent his majesty, he'll call you to so hot an answer of it, that caves and woomy vaultages of France shall chide your trespass and return your mock in second accent of his ordinance.
Say, if my father render fair return, it is against my will, for I desire nothing but odds with England. To that end, as matching to his youth and vanity, I did present him with Paris balls.
You'll make your Paris Louvre shake for it. Were it mistress court of mighty Europe, and be assured you'll find a difference, as we his subjects have in wonder found, between the promise of his greener days and these he masters now. Now he weighs time even to the utmost grain, that you shall read in your own losses if he stay in France.
Tomorrow shall you know our mind at full.
Dispatch us with all speed, lest that our king come here himself to question our delay, for he is footed in this land already.
You shall soon be dispatched with fair conditions. A night is but a small breath and little pause to answer matters of this consequence.
Thus, with imagined wing, our swift scene flies, in motion of no less celerity than that of thought. Suppose that you have seen the well-appointed king at Hampton Pier embark his royalty, and his brave fleet with silken streamers the young Phoebus fanning. Play with your fancies. and in them behold, upon the hempen tackle, shipboys climbing. Hear the shrill whistle which doth order give to sounds confused. Behold the threatened sails, borne with the invisible and creeping wind, draw the huge bottoms through the furrowed sea, breasting the lofty surge. Oh, but think, you stand upon the rivage, and behold a city on the inconstant billows dancing. For so appears this fleet majestical, holding due course to Harfleur. Follow, follow, grapple your minds to sternage of this navy, and leave your England as dead midnight still, guarded with grandsires, babies, and old women, either past or not arrived to pith and puissance. For who is he whose chin is not but enriched with one appearing hair that will not follow these cold and choice-drawn cavaliers to France? Work your thoughts, and therein see a siege. Behold the ordnance on their carriages, with fatal mouths gaping on girded Harfleur. Suppose the ambassador from the French comes back, tells Harry that the king doth offer him his daughter Catherine, and with her to dowry some petty and unprofitable dukedoms. The offer likes not, and the nimble gunner with linstock now the devilish cannon touches, and down goes all before them. Still, be kind, and eke out our performance with your mind.
Once more unto the breach, dear friends, once more, or close up the wall with our English dead. In peace, there's nothing so becomes a man as modest stillness and humility. But when the blast of war blows in our ears, then imitate the action of the tiger. Stiffen the sinews, conjure up the blood, disguise fair nature with hard favored rage. Then lend the eye a terrible aspect. Let it pry through the portage of the head like the brass cannon. Let the brow o'erwhelm it as fearfully as doth a galled rock o'erhang and jutty his confounded base, swilled with the wild and wasteful ocean. Now, set the teeth and stretch the nostril wide, hold hard the breath, and bend up every spirit to his full weight. On, you noblest English, whose blood is fed from fathers of war-proof, fathers that, like so many Alexanders, have in these parts from morn till even fought and sheathed their swords for lack of argument. Dishonor not your mothers. Now, attest that those whom you called fathers did beget you. Be copy now to men of grosser blood, and teach them how to war. And you, good yeomen, whose limbs were made in England, show us here the mettle of your pasture. Let us swear that you are worth your breeding, which I doubt not, for there is none of you so mean and base that hath not noble luster in your eyes. I see you stand like greyhounds in the slips, straining upon the start. The game's afoot. Follow your spirit, and upon this charge cry, God for Harry, England, and St. George!
Yeah! On, to the breach, to the breach!
Pray thee, Corporal, stay. The knocks are too hot, and for mine old part I have not a case of lives. The humor is too hot, and there's the very plain song of it.
The plain song is most just, for humors do abound. Knox, go and come, God's vassals drop and die, and sword and shield in bloody field doth win immortal fame.
Would I were in an alehouse in London, I would give all my fame for a pot of ale and safety.
And I, if wishes would prevail with me, my purpose should not fail with me, but thither would I hie.
As duly, but not as truly, as bird doth sing on bough.
The preach, you dogs! Avaunt, you cullions!
Be merciful, great Duke, to men of mold. Abate thy rage, abate thy manly rage, abate thy rage, great Duke. Good Bawcock, bate thy rage, use lenity, sweet Chuck.
These be good humors. Your humor wins bad humors.
Long as I am, I have observed these three swashers. I am boy to them, all three, but all they three, though they would serve me, could not be man to me. For indeed, three such antics do not amount to a man. For Bardolph, he is white-livered and red-faced, by the means whereof effaces it out, but fights not. For Pistol, he hath a killing tongue and a quiet sword, by the means whereof a breaks words and keeps whole weapons. For Nym, he hath heard that men of few words are the best men, and therefore he scorns to say his prayers, lest it should be thought a coward. But as few bad words are matched with as few good deeds. For I never broke any man's head but his own, and that was against a post when he was drunk. They will steal anything and call it purchase. Bardolph stole a lute case, bore it 12 leagues, and sold it for 3 halfpence. Nym and Bardolph are sworn brothers in filching, and in Calais they stole a fire shovel. I knew by that piece of service the men would carry coals. They would have me as familiar with men's pockets as their gloves or their handkerchiefs, which makes much against me manhood if I should take from another's pocket to put into mine. That is plain pocketing up of wrongs. I must leave them and seek some better service. Their villainy goes against my weak stomach, and therefore I must cast it up.
Captain Fluellen, you must come presently to the mines. The Duke of Gloucester would speak with you.
To the mines? Tell you the Duke, it is not so good to come to the mines. For look you, the mines is not according to the disciplines of the war. The concavities of it are not sufficient. For look you, the adversary, you may discuss unto the Duke, look you, is dicked himself 4 yard under the countermines. By Cheshire, I think it will plow up all if there is not better directions.
The Duke of Gloucester, to whom the order of the siege is given, is altogether directed by an Irishman, a very valiant gentleman in faith.
It is Captain MacMorris, is it not?
I think it be.
By Cheshire, he is an ass, as in the world. I will verify as much in his beard. He has no more directions in the true disciplines of the wars, look you, of the Roman disciplines than is a puppy dog.
Here it comes, and the Scots captain, Captain Jamie, with him.
Oh, Captain Jamie is a marvelous valorous gentleman, that is certain, and of great expedition and knowledge in the ancient wars, upon my particular knowledge of his directions. By Cheshire, he will maintain his argument as well as any military man in the world in the disciplines of the pristine wars of the Romans.
I say good day, Captain Fluellen.
God den to your worship, good Captain James.
How now, Captain MacMorris? Have you quit the mines? Have the
No,
pioneers
by-
given over?
By cherish, 'tis ill done. The workish give over, the trumpet sound the retreat. By me hand I swear, and me father's soul, the workish ill done, it ish give over. I would have blowed up the town, so Christ save me law in an hour. No, 'tis ill done, 'tis ill done. By me hand, 'tis ill done.
Ah, Captain MacMorris, I beseech you now, Will you vouchsafe me, look you, a few disputations with you, as partly touching or concerning the disciplines of the war, the Roman wars, in the way of argument, look you, and friendly communication, partly to satisfy my opinion, and partly for the satisfaction, look you, of my mind, as touching the direction of the military discipline. That is the point.
It shall be very good, good faith, good captains both. And I shall quit with you in good leave, as I may quick occasion, that shall I marry.
It is no time to discourse, so Christ save me. The day is hot, and the weather, and the wares, and the king, and the dukes. It is no time to discourse. The town is besieged, and the trumpets call us to the breach, and we talk, and by Christ do nothing. 'Tis shame for us all. So God save me, 'tis shame to stand still, 'tis shame by my hand. And there is throats to be cut, and works to be done, and there is nothing done, so Christ save me, law.
By the mess, ere these eyes of mine take themselves to slumber, I'll do good service, or I'll lie in the ground for it, or go to death, and I'll pay 'tis valorously as I may. That shall I surely do, that is the brief and the long. Mary, I would full fain heard some question tween you twae.
Captain MacMorris, I think, look you, under your correction, there is not many of your nation.
Oh, of my nation? What is my nation? Is a villain, a bastard, and a knave, and a rascal. What is my nation? Who talks of my nation?
But look you, if you take the matter otherwise than is meant, Captain MacMorris, peradventure, I shall think you do not use me with that affability as in discretion you ought to use me, look you, being as good a man as yourself, both in the disciplines of war and in the derivation of my birth, and in other particularities.
I do not know ye so good a man as myself. So Christ save me, I will cut off your head.
Gentlemen both, you will mistake each other.
Ugh, that's a foul fault. A parley sounded.
The town sounds a parley.
Captain MacMorris, when there is more better opportunity to be required, look you, I will be so bold as to tell you, I know the disciplines of war, and there is an end.
Resolves the governor of the town. This is the latest parley we will admit, therefore to our best mercy, give yourselves, or like to men proud of destruction, defy us to our worst. For as I am a soldier, a name that in my thoughts becomes me best, if I begin the battery once again, I will not leave the half-achieved Harfleur till in her ashes she lie buried. The gates of mercy shall be all shut up, and the fleshed soldier, rough and hard of heart, in liberty of bloody hand shall range, with conscience wide as hell, mowing like grass your fresh fair virgins and your flowering infants. What is it then to me, if impious war, arrayed in flames like to the prince of fiends, do with his smirched complexion all fell feats and linked to waste and desolation? What is't to me, when you yourselves are cause? If your pure maidens fall into the hand of hot and foreseen violation, what reign can hold licentious wickedness when down the hill he holds his fierce career? We may as bootless spend our vain command upon the enraged soldiers and their spoil as send precepts to the Leviathan to come ashore. Therefore, you men of Harfleur, take pity of your town and of your people, whilst yet my soldiers are in my command, whilst yet the cool and temperate wind of grace o'erblows the filthy and contagious clouds of headly murder, spoil, and villainy. If not, why, in a moment, look to see the blind and bloody soldier with foul hand defile the locks of your shrill seeking daughters, your fathers, taken by the silver beards and their most reverend heads, dashed to the walls, your naked infants spitted upon pikes, whilst the mad mothers their howled confused to do break the clouds as did the wives of Jewry at Herod's blood-hunting slaughtermen. What say you? Will you yield and this avoid, or guilty in defense be thus destroyed?
Our expectation hath this day an end. The Dauphin, whom of succors we entreated, returns us that his powers are not yet ready to raise so great a siege. Therefore, Great king, we yield our town and lives to thy soft mercy. Enter our gates, dispose of us and ours.
We'll open your gates. Come, Uncle Exeter. Go you and enter Harfleur. There, remain, and fortify it strongly against the French. Use mercy to them all for us, dear uncle. The winter coming on and sickness growing upon our soldiers, we will retire to Calais. Tonight in Harfleur will we be your guest. Tomorrow, for the march, are we addressed.
Alice, tu as été en Angleterre et tu bien parles le langage.
Un peu, madame.
Je te prie, m'enseigner. Il faut que je prenne à parler. Comment appelez-vous la main en anglais?
La main, elle est appelée the hand.
The hand. Et les doigts?
Les doigts. Oh, ma foi, j'ai oublié les doigts. Mais je me souviendrai, les doigts. Je pense qu'ils sont appelés des fingers. Oui, des fingers.
La main, the hand, les doigts, the fingers. Je pense que je suis le bon encollier. J'ai gagné 2 mots d'anglais, vitement. Comment appelez-vous les ongles?
Les ongles. Nous les appelons the nails.
Ah, the nails. Écoutez, dis-moi si je perds bien. The hand, the finger et the nails.
C'est bien dit, madame. Il est fort bon anglais.
Ah, dis-moi l'anglais pour les bras.
Des armes, madame.
Et le coude?
Des elbows.
Elbow. Je me fais la répétition de tous les mots que vous m'avez appris dès à présent.
Il est trop difficile, madame, comme je pense.
Excusez-moi, Alice. Écoutez. The hand, the finger, the nails, the arm, the elbow.
The elbow, madame.
Oh, Seigneur Dieu, je m'en oublie d'elbow. Comment appelez-vous l'école?
The nick, madame.
The nick. Et le menton?
The chin.
The chin. Le corps, the nick. Le menton, the chin.
Oui, sauf votre honneur, en vérité. Vous prononcez les mots aussi droit que les natifs d'Angleterre.
Oh, je ne dois point te prendre par la grâce de Dieu. Et en peu de temps.
N'avez-vous déjà oublié ce que je vous ai enseigné?
Non, je réciterai à vous promptement. The hand, the finger, the nails.
The nails, madame.
The nails, the arm, the elbow.
Sauf votre honneur, the elbow.
Oh, si, dis-je. The elbow, the neck et the chin. Comment appelez-vous le pied et le robe?
Le foot, madame, et le coude.
Le foutre et le con. Oh, Seigneur Dieu! Ils sont les mots de ce mauvais, corruptible, gros et impudique, et non point les termes d'honneur de usage. Je ne voudrais prononcer ces mots devant les seigneurs de France pour tout le monde. Le foutre et le con. Néanmoins, je réciterai une autre fois ma leçon ensemble. The hand, the finger, the nails, the arm, the elbow, the neck, the chin, the foot, le con.
Excellente, madame.
C'est assez pour une fois. Allons-nous à dîner.
'Tis certain he hath passed the river Somme,
And if he be not fought withal, my lord, let us not live in France. Let us quit all and give our vineyards to a barbarous people.
Oh, mon Dieu vivant. Shall a few sprays of us, the emptying of our father's luxury, our scions put in wild and savage stock, spirit up so suddenly into the clouds and overlook their grafters?
Normans, but bastard Normans! Norman bastards! What do m'avait, if they march along I fought withal, but I will sell my dukedom to buy a slobbery and dirty farm in that nook-shodden Isle of Albion.
You de bataille! Where have they this metal? Is not their climate foggy, raw, and dull on whom, as in despite the sun looks pale, killing their fruits with frowns? Can sodden water a drench for souraine jades, their barley broth decoct their cold blood to such valiant heat? And shall our quick blood spirited with wine seem frosty? Oh, for honor of our land, let us not hang like roping icicles upon our houses' thatch, while a more frosty people sweat drops of valiant youth in our rich fields. Poor we call them in their native lords.
By my faith and honor, our madams mock at us, and plainly say our metal is bred out, and they will give their bodies to the lust of English youth, to new store France with bastard warriors.
They bid us to English dancing schools and teach logothos high and with swift corantos, saying our only grace is in our heels, and that our most lovely runaways.
Where's Montjoy the herald? Speed him hence. Let him greet England with our sharp defiance. Up, princes, and with the spirit of honor edged more sharper than your swords, high to the fields. Charles de la Brethe, High Constable of France, you, Duke of Orleans, Bourbon, and of Berry, Alençon, Brabant, Bar, and Burgundy, Jacques Chatillon, Rambourg, Valmont, Beaumont, Grandpre, Sea and Falconbridge, Lestrac, Bouchequal, and Charleroi, High Dukes, great princes, barons, lords, and knights, for your great seats now quit you of great shames. Bar harry England that sweeps through our land, with pennants painted in the blood of her floor. Rush on his host, as doth the metal melted snow upon the valleys, whose low vassal seat the Alps doth spit and void his room upon. Go down upon him, you have power enough, and a captive's chariot, and to ruin, bring him here our prisoner.
This becomes the great. Sorry am I his numbers are so few, his soldiers sick and famished in their march, for I am sure when he shall see our enemy, he'll drop his heart into the sink of fear, and for achievement offer us his ransom.
Therefore, Lord Constable, haste on Montjoy, and let him say to England that we send to know what a willing ransom he will give. Prince Dauphin, you shall stay with us in Rouen.
Not so. I do beseech your majesty.
Be patient, for you shall remain with us. Now forth, Lord Constables, and princes all, and quickly bring us word of England's fall.
How now, Captain Fluellen? Come you from the bridge?
I assure you, there is very excellent services committed at the bridge.
Is the Duke of Exeter safe?
The Duke of Exeter is as magnanimous as Agamemnon, and a man that I love and honor with my soul and my heart and my duty and my love and my living and my uttermost power. He is not, God be praised and blessed, any hurt in the world, but keeps the bridge most valiantly with excellent discipline. There is an ancient lieutenant there at the bridge. I think in my very conscience he is as valiant a man as Mark Antony, and he is a man of no estimation in the world, but I did see him do as gallant service.
What do you call him?
He is called Ancient Pistol.
I know him not.
Here is the man.
Captain, I thee beseech to do me favors. The Duke of Exeter doth love thee well.
I praise God, and I have merited some love at his hands.
Bardolph, a soldier firm and sound of heart, and of buxom valor, hath by cruel fate and giddy fortune's furious fickle wheel, that goddess blind, that stands upon the rolling restless stone.
By your patience, Ancient Pistol, A fortune is painted blind with a muffler afore his eye to signify to you that fortune is blind, and she is painted also with the wheel to signify to you, which is the moral of it, that she is turning and in constant and mutability and variation, and her foot, look you, is fixed upon a spherical stone which rolls and rolls and rolls. In good truth, the poet makes a most excellent description of it. Fortune is an excellent moral.
Fortune is Bardolph's foe and frowns on him, for he has stolen a pax, and hanged must be, a damned death. Let gallows gape for dog, let man go free, and let not hemp his windpipe suffocate. But Exeter hath given the doom of death for a pax of little price. Therefore go speak, the Duke will hear thy voice, and let not Bardolph's vital thread be cut with edge of penny cord and vile reproach. Speak, captain, for his life, and I will thee requite.
Ancient pistol, I do partly understand your meaning.
Why then rejoice therefore.
Certainly, ancient, it is not a thing to rejoice at, for if, look you, he were my brother, I would desire the Duke to use his good pleasure and put him to execution, for discipline ought to be used.
Die and be damned, and Figo for thy friendship.
It is well.
The fig of Spain.
Very good.
Why, this is an errant counterfeit rascal. I remember him now, a bawd, a cutpurse.
I assure you, he uttered as brave words at the bridge as you shall see in a summer's day. But it is very well. What he has spoke to me, that is well, I warrant you, when time is served.
Why, 'tis a gull, a fool, a rogue that now and then goes to the wars to grace himself, as his return into London under the form of a soldier. And such fellows are perfect in the great commander's names, and they will learn you by rote what services were done at such and such a sconce, at such and such a breach, at such a convoy, who came off bravely, who was shot, who disgraced, and what terms the enemy stood on. And this they con perfectly in the phrase of war, which they trick up with new turned oaths. And what a beard of the general's cut and a horrid suit of the camp will do among the foaming bottles and ale-washed wits is wonderful to be thought on. But you must learn to know such slanders of the age, or else you may be marvelously mistook.
I tell you what, Captain Gower, I do perceive he is not the man that he would gladly make show to the world that he is. If I find a hole in his coat, I will tell him my mind. Hark you, the king is coming, and I must speak with him from the bridge. God bless your majesty.
Now, Fluellen, camest thou from the bridge?
Aye, so please your majesty, the Duke of Exeter has very gallantly maintained the bridge. The French is gone off, look you, and there is gallant and most brave passages. Mary, the adversary was to have possession of the bridge, but he is enforced to retire, and the Duke of Exeter is master of the bridge. I can tell your majesty, the Duke is a brave man.
What men have you lost, Fluellen?
The perdition of the adversary hath been very great, reasonable great. Mary, for my part, I think the Duke hath lost never a man, but one that is like to be executed for robbing a church, one Bardolph, if your majesty know the man. His face is all bubicles and whelks and knobs and flames of fire, and his lips blows at his nose, and it is like a coal of fire, sometimes blue and sometimes red, but his nose is executed, and his fire's out.
We would have all such offenders so cut off. And we give express charge that in our marches through the country, there be nothing compelled from the villages, nothing taken but paid for, none of the French upbraided or abused in disdainful language, for when lenity and cruelty play for a kingdom, the gentler gamester is the soonest winner.
Know me by my habit?
Well, then I know thee. What shall I know of thee?
My master's mind.
Unfold it.
Thus says my king, say thou to Harry of England, though we seemed dead, we did but sleep. Advantage is a better soldier than rashness. Tell him we could have rebuked him after Harfleur, but that we thought it was not good to bruise an injury till it were full ripe. Now we speak upon our cue, and our voice is imperial. England shall repent his folly, see his weakness, and admire our sufferance. Bid him, therefore, consider of his ransom, which must proportion the losses we have borne, the subjects we have lost, the disgrace we have digested, which, in wait to re-answer, his pettiness would bow under. For our losses, his exchequer too poor. For the effusion of our blood, the muster of his kingdom too faint a number. And for our disgrace, his own person kneeling at our feet, but a weak and worthless satisfaction. To add to this defiance and tell him for conclusion, he hath betrayed his followers, whose condemnation is pronounced. So far my king and master, so much my office.
What is thy name? I know thy quality.
Montjoy.
Thou dost thy office fairly. Turn thee back, and tell the king, I do not seek him now, but could be willing to march on to Calais without impeachment. For to say the sooth, though 'tis no wisdom to confess so much unto an enemy of craft and vantage, my people are with sickness and much enfeebled, my numbers lessened, and those few I have almost no better than so many French, who, when they were in health, I tell thee, Harold, I thought upon one pair of English legs did march 3 Frenchmen, yet, forgive me, God, that I do brag thus. This is your heir of France hath blown that vice in me. I must repent. But go therefore, tell thy master, here I am. My ransom is this frail and worthless trunk, my army but a weak and sickly guard, yet, God before, tell him we will come on, though France himself and such another neighbor stand in our way. There's for thy labor, Montjoy. Go bid thy master well advise himself. If we may pass, we will. If we be hindered, we shall your tawny ground with your red blood discolor. And so, Montjoy, fare you well. The sum of all our answer is but this: we would not seek a battle as we are, nor as we are, we say we will not shun it. So tell your master.
Shall deliver so. Thanks to your highness.
I hope they will not come upon us now.
We're in God's hand, brother, not in theirs. March to the bridge. It now draws toward night. Beyond the river we'll encamp ourselves, and on tomorrow bid them march away.
Tut, I have the best armor of the world. Would it were day.
You have an excellent armor, but let my horse have his due.
It is the best horse of Europe.
Will it never be morning?
My lord of Orleans, and my lord high constable, you talk of horse and armor?
You are as well provided of both as any prince in the world.
What a long night is this! I will not change my horse with any that treads on, but on 4 pasturns. Sa! Ha! He bounds from earth as if entrails were hairs. Le cheval volant, the Pegasus, chez les nerfs de feu. When I bestride him, I soar. I am a hawk. He trots the air. The earth sings when he touches it. The basest horn of his hoof is more musical than the pipe of Hermes.
He's the color of nutmeg.
And the heat of the ginger. It is the beast for Perseus. He is pure air and fire. And the dull elements of earth and water never appear in him, but only in patient stillness while his rider mounts him. He is indeed a horse, and all other jades you may call beasts.
Indeed, my lord, it is a most absolute and excellent horse.
It is the prince of palfrey. His neigh is like the biting of a monarch, and his countenance enforces homage.
No more, cousin.
Nay, the man hath no wit that cannot from the rising of the lark to the lodging of the lamb very deserved praise on my palfrey. It is the theme as fluent as the sea. Turn the sands into eloquent tongues, and my horse is argument for them all. 'Tis a subject for a sovereign to reason on, and for a sovereign to ride on, and for all the world familiar to us and unknown to lay apart their particular functions and wonder at him. I once writ a sonnet in his praise, and began thus, wonder of nature.
I have heard a sonnet begin so to one's mistress.
Then did they imitate that which I composed to my courser, for my horse is my mistress.
Your mistress fares well.
Me well, which prescript praise and perfection of a good and particular mistress.
Nay, for me thought yesterday your mistress shrewdly shook your back.
So perhaps did yours.
Mine was not bridled.
Oh, then belike she was old and gentle, and you rode like a kern of Ireland, your French hose off, and in your straight stole.
You have good judgment in horsemanship.
Be warned by me then. They that ride so, and ride not so warily, fall into foul bogs. I had rather have my horse to my mistress.
I had as lief have my mistress a jade.
I tell thee, Constable, my mistress wears his own hair.
Oh, I could make as true a boast as that if I had a sow to my mistress.
Le chien retournait à son propre maison et la trouée lavée au bobert. Thou makest use of anything.
And yet I do not use my horse for my mistress, or any such proverb so little kin to the purpose.
My Lord Constable, the armor that I saw in your tent tonight, are those stars or suns upon it?
Stars, my lord.
Some of them will fall tomorrow, I hope.
And yet my sky will not want.
That may be, for you bear a many superfluous, and 'twere more honor somewhere away.
Even as your horse bears your praises, who would trot as well were some of your brags dismounted.
Would I were able to load him with his desert. Will it never be day? I will trot tomorrow a mile, and my way shall be paved with English faces.
I will not say so, for fear I should be faced out of my way. But I would it were morning, for I would fain be about the ears of the English.
Who will go to hazard with me for 20 prisoners?
You must first go yourself to hazard, ere you have them.
Tis midnight. I'll go arm myself.
The Dauphin longs for morning.
He longs to eat the English.
I think he will eat all he kills.
By the white hand of my lady, he's a gallant prince.
Oh, swear by her foot, that she may tread out the oath.
He is simply the most active gentleman in France.
Doing is activity, and he will still be doing.
He never did harm that I heard of.
Nor will do none tomorrow. He will keep that good name still.
I know him to be valiant.
I was told that by one that knows him better than you.
What's he?
Mary, he told me so himself. And he said he said not who knew it.
He needs not. It is no hidden virtue in him.
Oh, by my faith, sir, but it is. I never saw anybody saw it but his lackey. 'Tis a hooded valor, and when it appears, it will bait.
Ill will never said well.
I will cap that proverb with, there is flattery in friendship.
And I will take up that with, give the devil his due.
Well placed. There stands your friend for the devil. Have at the very eye of that proverb with a pox of the devil.
You are better at proverbs by how much a fool's bolt is soon shot.
You have shot over.
'Tis not the first time you were overshot.
My Lord High Constable, the English lie within 1,500 paces of your tent.
Who hath measured the ground?
The Lord Grandpre.
A valiant and most expert gentleman. Would it were day! Alas, poor Harry of England, he longs not for the dawning as we do.
What a wretched and peevish fellow is this King of England, to mope with his fat-brained followers so far out of his knowledge.
If the English had any apprehension, they would run away.
That they lack, for if their heads had any intellectual armor, they could never wear such heavy headpieces.
That island of England breeds very valiant creatures. Their mastiffs are of unmatchable courage.
Foolish curs that run winking into the mouth of a Russian bear and have their heads crushed like rotten apples. You may as well say that's a valiant flea that dare eat his breakfast on the lip of a lion.
Just. And the men do sympathize with the mastiffs in robustious and rough coming on, leaving their wits with their wives, and then give them great meals of beef and iron and steel. They will eat like wolves and fight like devils.
Aye, but these English are shrewdly out of beef.
Then shall we find tomorrow they have only stomachs to eat and none to fight. Now, is it time to arm? Come, shall we about it?
It is now 2 o'clock, but let me see. By 10, we shall have each 100 Englishmen.
Now entertain conjecture of a time when creeping murmur and the pouring dark fills the wide vessel of the universe. From camp to camp, through the foul womb of night, the hum of either army stilly sounds, that the fixed sentinels almost receive the secret whispers of each other's watch. Fire answers fire, and through their paly flames each battle sees the other's umbud face. Steed threatens steed in high and boastful neighs, piercing the night's dull ear. And from the tents, the armorers accomplishing the nights with busy hammers, closing rivets up with the dreadful note of preparation. The country cocks do crow, the clocks do toll, and the third hour of drowsy morning name. Proud of their numbers and secure in soul, the confident and over-lusty French do the low-rated English play at dice, and chide the crippled tardy-gated knight, who like a foul and ugly witch doth limp so tediously away. The poor condemned English, like sacrifices, by their watchful fires sit patiently and inly ruminate the morning's danger. And their gestures sad, investing lank, lean cheeks and war-worn coats, presenting them unto the gazing moon, so many horrid ghosts. Oh, now, who will behold the royal captain of this ruined band, walking from watch to watch, from tent to tent? Let him cry praise and glory on his head, for forth he goes and visits all his hosts, bids them good morrow, and with a modest smile calls them brothers, friends, and countrymen. Upon his royal face there is no note how dread an army hath enrounded him, nor doth he dedicate one jot of color unto the weary and all-watched night, but freshly looks and overbears a taint with cheerful semblance and sweet majesty, that every wretch, pining and pale before, beholding him, plucks comfort from his looks. a largest universal, like the sun, his liberal eye doth give to every one, thawing cold fear, that mean and gentle all behold, as may unworthiness define, a little touch of Harry in the night. And so our scene must to the battle fly, where, oh, for pity, we shall much disgrace with 4 or 5 most vile and ragged foils, right ill disposed, in brow ridiculous, the name of Agincourt. Yet sit and see, minding true things by what their mockeries be.
Gloucester, 'tis true, we are in great danger. The greater, therefore, should be our courage be. Ah, good morrow, brother Bedford. God almighty, there is some soul of goodness in things evil. Would men observantly distill it out, for our bad neighbor makes us early stirs, which is both healthful and good husbandry. Besides, they are our outward consciences and preachers to us all, admonishing that we should dress us fairly for our end. Thus may we gather honey from the weed and make a moral of the devil himself. A good morrow, old Sir Thomas Erpingham. A good soft pillow for that good white head were better than a churlish turf of France.
Oh, not so, my liege. This lodging likes me better, since I may say, now lie I like the king.
It is good for men to love their present pains upon example, so the spirit is eased. And when the mind is quickened, out a doubt, the organs, though defunct and dead before, break up their drowsy grave, and newly move with casted slough and fresh legerity. Lend me thy cloak, Sir Thomas. Brothers, both, commend me to the princes in our camp. Do my good morrow to them, and anon, desire them all to my pavilion.
We shall, my liege.
Shall I attend your grace?
Oh, no, my good knight. Go with my brothers to my lords of England. I in my bosom must debate a while, and then I would no other company.
The Lord in heaven bless thee, noble Harry.
God of mercy, old heart, thou speaks cheerfully.
Qui vous là?
Ah, a friend.
Discuss unto me, art thou officer, or art thou base, common, and popular?
I am a gentleman of the company.
Trailst thou the piss and pike?
Even so, what are you?
As good a gentleman as the emperor.
Ah, then you are better than the king.
The king's a bawcock and a heart of gold. A lad of life, an imp of fame, of parents good, of a fist most valiant. I kiss his dirty shoe, and from heartstring I love the lovely bully. What is thy name?
Harry Leroy.
Leroy? The Cornish name. Art thou of Cornish crew?
No, I am a Welshman.
Knowst thou Fluellen?
Yes.
Tell him I'll knock his leek about his pate upon St. Davy's Day.
Do not you wear your dagger in your cap that day, lest he knock that about yours.
Art thou his friend?
And his kinsman too?
I go for thee then.
Well, I thank you. God be with you.
My name is Pistol called.
It sorts well with your fierceness.
Captain Fluellen.
So, in the name of Jesu Christ, speak fewer. It is the greatest admiration in the universal world when the true and ancient prerogatives and laws of the wars is not kept. If you would take the pains but to examine the wars of Pompey the Great, you shall find, I warrant you, that there is no tittle-tattle nor pibble-pabble in Pompey's camp, I warrant you. You shall find the ceremonies of the wars and the cares of it and the forms of it and the sobriety of it and the modesty of it to be otherwise.
Why, the enemy is loud. You hear him all night.
If the enemy is an ass and a fool and a prating coxcomb, is it meet, think you, that we should also look you be an ass and a fool and a prating coxcomb in your own conscience now?
I will speak lower.
I pray you and beseech you that you will.
Though it appear a little out of fashion, there's much care and valor in this Welshman.
Brother John Bates, is not that the morning which breaks yonder?
Think it be, but we have no great cause to desire the approach of day.
We see yonder the beginning of day, but I think we shall never see the end of it. Who goes there?
Oh, a friend.
Under what captain serve you?
Under Sir Thomas Erpingham.
Good old commander and a most kind gentleman. I pray you, what thinks he of our estate?
Even as men wrecked upon a sand that looked to be washed off the next tide.
He hath not told his thought to the king.
No, nor does not meet he should. For though I speak it to you, I think the king is but a man, as I am. The violet smells to him as it doth to me. The element shows to him as it doth to me. All his senses have but human conditions. His ceremonies laid by. In his nakedness he appears but a man. And though his affections are higher mounted than ours, yet when they stoop with the like wing. Therefore, when he sees reason of fears as we do, his fears, out of doubt, be of the same relish as ours are. Yet in reason, no man should possess him with any appearance of fear, lest he, by showing it, should dishearten his army.
You may show what outward courage you will, but I believe, as cold a night as 'tis, he could wish himself in Thames up to the neck, and so I would he were, and I by him all adventures, so we were quit here.
By my troth, I will speak my conscience of the king. I think he would not wish himself anywhere but where he is.
Then I would he were here alone. So should he be sure to be ransomed, and the many poor men's lives saved.
I dare say you love him not so ill to wish him here alone. However, so you speak this to feel other men's minds. Methinks I could not die anywhere so contented as in the king's company, his cause being just and his quarrel honorable.
That's more than we know.
Aye, or more than we should seek after. For we know enough, if we know we are the king's subjects. If his cause be wrong, our obedience to the king wipes the crime of it out of us.
But if the cause be not good, the king himself hath a heavy reckoning to make, when all those legs and arms and heads chopped off in battle shall join together at the latter day and cry all, we died at such a place. Some swearing, some crying for a surgeon, some upon their wives left poor behind them, some upon the debts they owe, some upon their children rawly left. I am afeard there are few die well that die in battle. For how can they charitably dispose of anything when blood is their argument? Now, if these men do not die well, it will be a black matter for the king that led them to it, who to disobey were against all proportion of subjection.
So, if a son that is by his father sent about merchandise do sinfully miscarry upon the sea, the imputation of his wickedness by your rule should be imposed upon his father that sent him? Or if a servant, under his master's command, transporting a sum of money, be assailed by robbers and die in many irreconciled iniquities, you may call the business of the master the author of the servant's damnation. This is not so. The king is not bound to answer the particular endings of his soldiers, the father of his son, nor the master of his servant. For they purpose not their death when they purpose their services. Besides, there is no king, be his cause never so spotless, if it come to the arbitrament of swords, can try it out with all unspotted soldiers. Some, peradventure, have on them the guilt of premeditated and contrived murder. Some of beguiling virgins with the broken seals of perjury, some making the wars their bulwark, that have before gored the gentle bosom of peace with pillage and robbery. Now, if these men have defeated the law and outrun native punishment, Though they can outstrip men, they have no wings to fly from God. War is his beetle. War is his vengeance, so that here men are punished for before breach of the king's laws and now the king's quarrel. Where they feared the death, they have borne life away. And where they would be safe, they perish. Then if they die unprovided, no more is the king guilty of their damnation than he was before guilty of their impieties, for the which they are now visited. Every subject's duty is the king's, but every subject's soul is his own. Therefore should every soldier in the wars do as every sick man in his bed, wash every mote out of his conscience, and dying so, death is to him advantage, or not dying. The time was blessedly lost wherein such preparation was gained, and in him that escapes. It were not sin to think that making God so free an offer, he let him outlive that day to see his greatness and to teach others how they should prepare.
'Tis certain every man that dies ill, the ill upon his own head. The king is not to answer it.
I do not desire he should answer for me, and yet I desire to fight lustily for him.
I myself heard the king say he would not be ransomed.
Aye, he said so to make us fight cheerfully, but when our throats are cut, he may be ransomed, and we ne'er the wiser.
If I live to see it, I will never trust his word after.
You pay him then. That's a perilous shot out of an elder gun that a poor and a private displeasure can do against a monarch. You may as well go about to turn the sun to ice with fanning in his face with a peacock's feather. You'll never trust his word after. Come, 'tis a foolish saying.
Your reproof is something too round. I should be angry with you if the time were convenient.
Let it be a quarrel between us. If you live.
I embrace it.
How shall I know thee again?
Give me any gauge of thine, and I will wear it in my bonnet. Then if ever thou darest acknowledge it, I will make it my quarrel.
Here is my glove. Give me another of thine.
There. This will I wear.
This will I also wear in my cap, if ever thou come to me and say after tomorrow, this is my glove. By this hand I will take thee a box on the ear.
If I ever live to see it, I will challenge it.
Thou darest as well be hanged.
Well, I will do it, though I take thee in the king's company.
Keep thy word. Fare thee well.
Be friends, you English fools, be friends. We have French quarrels now, if you could tell how to reckon.
Indeed, the French may lay 20 French crowns to one they will beat us, for they bear them on their shoulders. But it is no English treason to cut French crowns, and tomorrow the king himself will be a clipper. Upon the king. Let us our lives, our souls, our debts, our careful wives, our children, and our sins lay on the king. We must bear all. Hard condition, twin-born with greatness, subject to the breath of every fool whose sense no more can feel but his own ringing. What infinite heart's ease must kings neglect, that private men enjoy, and what have kings that privates have not too, save ceremony, save general ceremony? And what art thou? Thou idle ceremony. What kind of God art thou that sufferest more of mortal griefs than do thy worshippers? What are thy rents? What are thy comings in? Ah, ceremony! Show me but thy worth. What is thy soul of adoration? Art thou aught else but place, degree, and form, creating awe and fear in other men? Wherein thou art less happy being feared than they in fearing. What drinkst thou oft instead of homage sweet, but poison flattery? Be sick, greatness, and bid thy ceremony give thee cure. Thinkst thou the fiery fever will go out with titles blown from adulation? Will it give place to flexure and low bending? Canst thou, when thou command'st the beggar's knee, command the health of it? No, thou proud dream that plays so subtly with a king's repose. I am a king that find thee, and I know it is not the balm, the scepter and the ball, the sword, the mace, the crown imperial, the intertissued robe of gold and pearl, the farce title running for the king, the throne he sits on, nor the tide of pomp that beats upon the high shore of this world. No, not all of these thrice gorgeous ceremony, not all of these laid in bed majestical, can sleep so soundly as the wretched slave, who with a body filled and vacant mind gives him to rest, crammed with distressful bread, never sees horrid night, the child of hell, but like a lackey from the rise to the set, sweats in the eye of Phoebus, and all night sleeps in Elysium. Next day after dawn doth rise and help Hyperion to his horse, and follows so the ever-running year with profitable labor to his grave. And but for ceremony, such a wretch, winding up days with toil and nights with sleep, had the forehand and the vantage of a king. The slave, a member of the country's peace, enjoys it, but in gross brain little wots what watch the king keeps to maintain the peace, whose hours the peasant best advantages.
My lord, your nobles, jealous of your absence, seek through your camp to find you.
Good old knight, collect them all together at my tent. I'll before them.
I shall do it, my lord.
Oh, God of battles, steel my soldiers' hearts. Possess them not with fear. Take from them now the sense of reckoning, if the opposed numbers pluck their hearts from them. Not today. Oh, Lord. Not today. Think not upon the fault my father made in compassing the crown. I, Richard's body, have interred new, and on it have bestowed more contrite tears than from it issued forced drops of blood. 500 poor I have in yearly pay, who twice a day their withered hands hold up toward heaven to pardon blood. And I have built 2 chauntries, where the sad and solemn priests sing still for Richard's soul. More will I do, though all that I can do is nothing more worth, since that my penitence comes after all, imploring pardon.
My liege.
My brother Gloucester's voice, I know thy errand. I will go with thee. Today, my friend, and all things stay for me.
The sun doth gild our armor. Up, my lords.
Monte à cheval. My horse, varlet lackey, ha!
Oh, brave spirit.
Via. Les yeux de terre.
Rien puis, l'air de feu.
Cieux. Cousin Orléans. Now, my lord constable.
Hark, how our steeds for present service neigh.
Mount them and make incision in their hides, that their hot blood may spin in English eyes and doubt them with superfluous courage, huh?
What will you have them weep our horses' blood, or how shall we then behold their natural tears?
The English are embattled, you French peers.
To horse, you gallant princes, straight to horse. Do but behold yon poor and starved band, and your fair show shall suck away their souls, leaving them but the shales and husks of men. There is not work enough for all our hands, scarce blood enough in all their sickly veins to give each naked curtleaxe a stain that our French gallants shall today draw out and sheathe for lack of sport. Let us but blow on them. The vapor of our valor will o'erturn them. 'Tis positive 'gainst all exceptions, lords, that our superfluous lackeys and our peasants, who in unnecessary action swarm about our squares of battle, were enow to purge this field of such a kilding foe, though we upon this mountain's base espy, took stand for idle speculation. But that our honors must not. What's to say? A very little let us do, and all is done. Then let the trumpet sound, the tucket sonance, and the note to mount, for our approach shall so much dare the field that England shall crouch down in fear and yield.
Why do you stay so long, my lords of France? Yon island's carrions, desperate of their bones, will favorably become the morning field. Their ragged curtains poorly are let loose, and our air shakes them passing scornfully. Big Mars seems bankrupt in their beggared host, and faintly through a rusty beaver peeps. The horsemen sit like fixed candlesticks, with torch staves in their hands, and with poor jades lobbed down their heads, dropping the hides and hips. The gum down roping from their pale dead eyes, and their pale dull mouths, the gimmeled bit lies fouled with chawed grass, still and motionless. And their executors, the knavish crows, fly over them all, impatient for their hour. Description cannot suit itself in words to demonstrate the life of such a battle in life, so lifeless as it shows itself.
They have said their prayers, and they stay for death.
Shall we go send them dinner and fresh suits and give their fasting horses provender and after fight with them?
I stay but for my guidon. To the field! I will the banner from a trumpet take and use it for my haste. Come, come, away, the sun is high and we outwear the day.
Where is the king?
The king himself is rode to view their battle.
Of fighting men they have full 70,000.
It's 5 to 1, besides they all are fresh.
God's arm strike with us. 'Tis a fearful odds, God buy you, princes all to my charge. If we no more meet till we meet in heaven, then joyfully, my noble lord of Bedford, and my dear Lord Gloucester, and my good friend Lord Exeter, and my kind kinsmen, warriors all, adieu.
Farewell, good Salisbury, and good luck go with thee.
Farewell, kind lord. Fight valiantly today. Yet I do thee wrong to mind thee of it, for thou art framed of the firm truth of valor.
He is as full of valor as of kindness, princely in both.
Oh, that we now had here but 1/10,000 of those men in England that do no work today.
What's he that wishes so? My cousin Westmoreland? No, my fair cousin. If we are marked to die, we are enough to do our country loss. And if to live, the fewer men, the greater share of honor. God's will, I pray thee, wish not one more man. By Jove, I am not covetous for gold, nor care I who doth feed upon my cost. It yearns me not if men my garments wear. Such outward things dwell not in my pleasures. But if it be a sin to covet honor, I am the most offending soul alive. No, faith, my coz, wish not a man from England. God's peace! I would not lose so great an honor as one man more, methinks, would share from me for the best hope I have. Oh, do not wish one more. Rather proclaim it, Westmoreland, through my host, that he which hath no stomach to this fight, let him depart. His passport shall be made, and crowns for convoy put into his purse. We would not die in that man's company that fears his fellowship to die with us. This day is called the Feast of Crispian. He that outlives this day and comes safe home will stand a tiptoe when this day is named and rouse him at the name of Crispian. He that shall see this day and live old age will yearly on the vigil feast his neighbors and say, tomorrow is St. Crispian. Then Will he strip his sleeve and show his scars and say, these wounds I had on Crispin's day? Old men forget, yet all shall be forgot, but he'll remember with advantages what feats he did that day. Then shall our names, familiar in his mouth as household words, Harry the King, Bedford and Exeter, Warwick and Talbot, Salisbury and Gloucester, be in their flowing cups freshly remembered. This story shall the good man teach his son, and Crispian shall ne'er go by from this day to the ending of the world, but we in it shall be remembered. We few, we happy few, we band of brothers. For he today that sheds his blood with me shall be my brother. Be he ne'er so vile, this day shall gentle his condition, and gentlemen in England now abed shall think themselves accursed they were not here, and hold their manhoods cheap, whilst any speaks that fought with us upon St. Crispin's day.
My sovereign lord, bestow yourself with speed. The French are bravely in their battles set, and will with all expedients charge on us.
All things are ready, if our minds be so.
Perish the man whose mind is backwards now.
Thou dost not wish more help from England, cuz?
God's will, my liege, would you and I alone, without more help, could fight this royal battle.
Why, now thou hast unwished 5,000 men, which likes me better than to wish us one. You know your places. God be with you all.
Once more, I come to know of thee, King Harry. If for thy ransom thou wilt now compound before thy most assured overthrow, for certainly thou art so near the gulf, thou needs must be englutted. Besides, in mercy, the constable desires thee. Thou wilt mind thy followers of repentance, that their souls may make peaceful and sweet retire from off these fields where wretches their poor bodies must lie and fester.
Who hath sent thee now?
The Constable of France.
Well, I pray thee, bear my former answer back. Bid them achieve me, and then sell my bones. Good God, why should they mock poor fellows thus? The man that once did sell the lion's skin while the beast lived was killed with hunting him. A many of our bodies shall no doubt find native graves, upon the which I trust shall witness live live in brass of this day's work, and those that leave their valiant bones in France, dying like men, though buried in your dunghills, they shall be famed, for there the sun shall greet them, and draw their honors reeking up to heaven, leaving their earthly parts to choke your clime, the smell whereof shall breed a plague in France. Mark then abounding valor in our English, that being dead, like to the bullets crassing, break out into a second course of mischief, killing in relapse of mortality. Let me speak proudly. Tell the constable, we are but warriors for the working day. Our gayness and our guilt are all besmirched with rainy marching in the painful field. There's not a piece of feather in our host. Good argument, I hope. We will not fly, and time hath worn us into slovenry, but by the mass, our hearts are in the trim, and my poor soldiers tell me, yet ere night they'll be in fresher robes, or they will pluck the gay new coats o'er the French soldiers' heads and turn them out of service. If they do this, as if God pleases they shall, my ransom then will soon be levied. Herald, save thou thy labor. Come thou no more for ransom, gentle herald. They shall have none, I swear, but these my joints, which if they have as I will leave them, shall yield them little. Tell the constable.
I shall, King Harry. And so fare thee well. Thou never shalt hear herald any more.
I fear thou wilt once more come again for a ransom.
My lord, most humbly, on my knee I beg the leading of the Var ward.
Take it, brave York. Now, soldiers, march away, and how thou pleasest. God dispose the day!
Yield, cur.
Je pense que vous êtes les gentilshommes de bonne qualité.
Qualité? Kalen O'Custor May. Art thou a gentleman? What is thy name? Discuss.
Oh, Seigneur Dieu.
Seigneur Dieu should be a gentleman. Perpend my words, Seigneur Dieu, and mark, Seigneur Dieu, thou diest on point of facts, except, Seigneur, thou do give to me egregious ransom.
Oh, prenez miséricorde, ayez pitié de moi.
Moi shall not serve. I will have 40 mois, or I will fetch thy rim out at thy throat in drops of crimson blood.
Il est impossible d'échapper les forces de ton bras.
Brass, cur? Thou damned and luxurious mountain goat, offerest me brass?
Oh, pardonnez-moi.
Sayest thou me so? Is that a ton of mois? Come hither, boy. Ask me this slave in French what is his name.
Écoutez, comment vous appelle?
Monsieur Le Feu.
He says his name is Master Fur.
Master Fur. Pfft, I'll fur him and firk him and ferret him. Discuss the same in French unto him.
I do not know the French for fur and ferret and firk.
Bid him prepare, for I will cut his throat.
Que dit-il, monsieur?
Il me commande vous dire que vous faites-vous prêt. Car ces soldats ici disposent de tout, c'est à eux de couper votre gorge.
Owie couple gorge permafoy, peasant, unless thou give me crowns, brave crowns, or mangled shalt thou be by this my sword.
Oh, je vous supplie, pour l'âme de Dieu, me pardonner. Je suis le gentilhomme de bonne maison. Gardez ma vie et je vous donnerai 200 écus.
What are his words?
He prays you to save his life. He's a gentleman of a good house, and for his ransom, he will give you 200 crowns.
Tell him my fury shall abate, and the crowns I will take.
Petit monsieur, qu'en dit-il?
Encore qu'il est contre son jurement de partenaire à con prisonnier. Néanmoins, pour les que vous lui promettez, il est content de vous donner la liberté, les franchissements.
Sur mes genoux, je vous donne 1000 remerciements. Et je m'estime heureux que je tombe entre les mains d'un chevalier, je pense, le plus brave, valiant et très distingué seigneur d'Angleterre.
Expound unto me, boy.
He gives you upon his knees 1,000 thanks, and he esteems himself happy that he had fallen into the hands of one, as he thinks, the most brave, valorous, and thrice worthy seigneur of England.
As I suck blood, I will show some mercy. Follow me.
Sauvez-vous, le grand capitaine. I did never know so full a voice issue from so empty a heart. But the saying is true, the empty vessel makes the greatest sound. Bardolph and Nym had 10 times more valor than this roaring devil in the old play. Everyone may pare his nails with a wooden dagger, and they are both hanged, and so would this be if he durst steal anything adventurously. I must stay with the lackeys with the luggage of our camp. The French might have a good prey of us, if he knew of it, for there is none to guard it but boys.
Oh, diable!
Oh, Seigneur, Le jeu est perdu, tout est perdu.
Mon Dieu, ma vie, all is confounded, all. Reproach and everlasting shame sits mocking our plumes. Oh, méchante fortune, do not run away.
Why? All our ranks are broke.
Oh, peregrine shame. Let's stab ourselves, be these wretches that we played at dice for?
Is this the king we sent you for his ransom?
Shame and eternal shame, nothing but shame. Let us die, and once more back again. And he that will not follow Bourbon now, let him go hence, and with his cap in hand, like a base pander, hold the chamber door, while its spyless slave, no gentler than my dog, his fairest daughter is contaminated.
Disorder that has spoiled us, friend us now. Let us on heaps go offer up our lives.
We are now yet living in the field to smother up the English in our throngs, if any order might be set upon.
The devil take order now. All to the throng. Let life be short, else shame will be too long.
Well have we done, thrice valiant countrymen, but all's not done. Yet keep the French the field.
The Duke of York commends him to your majesty.
Lives he, good uncle? Thrice within this hour I saw him, thrice up again in fighting, from helmet to spur, all blood he was.
In which array brave soldier doth he lie, larding the plain. And by his bloody side, yoke fellow to his honor owing wounds, the noble Earl of Suffolk also lies. Suffolk first died, and York all haggled over, comes to him where in gore he lay ensteeped, takes him by the beard, kisses the gashes that bloodily did yawn upon his face, cries aloud, "Tarry, my cousin Suffolk, my soul shall thine keep company to heaven. Tarry, sweet soul, for thine, and then fly abreast. As in this glorious and well-foughten field we kept together in our chivalry." Upon these words I came and cheered him up. He smiled me in the face and brought me his hand. With a feeble grip says, "Dear my lord, commend my service to my sovereign." So did he turn, and over Suffolk's neck he threw his wounded arm and kissed his lips. So espoused to death with blood, he sealed a testament of noble ending love. The pretty and sweet manner of it forced those waters from me which I would have stopped, but I had not so much of man in me, and all my mother came into mine eyes and gave me up to tears.
I blame you not. For hearing this, I must perforce compound with misful eyes, or they will issue too. But hark! What new alarm is this same? The French have reinforced their scattered men? Then every soldier kill his prisoners. Give the word through.
Kill the poison, the luggage. 'Tis expressly against the law of arms. 'Tis as errant a piece of knavery, mark you now, as can be offered in your conscience now, is it not?
'Tis certain there's not a boy left alive, and the cowardly rascals that ran from the battle had done this slaughter. Besides, they have burned and carried away all that was in the king's tent. Wherefore the king most worthily has caused every soldier to cut his prisoner's throat. Oh, 'tis a gallant king.
Aye, he was born at Monmouth, Captain Gower. What call you the town's name where Alexander the Pig was born?
Alexander the Great.
Why, I pray you, is not Pig great? The pig or the great or the mighty or the huge or the magnanimous are all one reckonings, save the phrases little variations.
I think Alexander the Great was born in Macedon. His father was called Philip of Macedon, as I take it.
I think it is in Macedon where Alexander is born. I tell you, Captain, if you look in the maps of the Earl, I warrant you shall find in the comparisons between Macedon and Monmouth that the situations, look you, is both alike. There is a river in Macedon, and there is also moreover a river at Monmouth. It is called Wye at Monmouth, but it is out of my brains what is the name of the other river, but 'tis all one. 'Tis alike as my fingers is to my fingers, and there is salmons in both. If you mark Alexander's life well, Harry of Monmouth's life is come after it indifferent well, for there is figures in all things, Alexander, God knows, and you know, in his rages and his furies and his wraths and his chollers and his moods and his displeasures and his indignations, and also being a little intoxicates in his prains, did, in his ails and his angers, look you, kill his best friend Clytus.
Our king is not like him in that. He never killed any of his friends.
Well, is it not well done? Mark you now, to take the tales out of my mouth ere it is made and finished. I speak but in the figures and comparisons of it. As Alexander killed his friend Clytus, being in his ales and his cups, so also Harry Monmouth, being in his right wits and his good judgments, turned away the fat knight with the great bellied doublet. He was full of jests and jipes and knaveries and mugs. I have forgot his name.
Sir John Falstaff.
That is he. I tell you, there is good men born at Monmouth.
Here comes his majesty.
I was not angry since I came to France until this instant. Take a trumpet, herald. Ride thou unto the horsemen on yon hill. If they will fight with us, bid them come down or void the field. They do offend our sight. If they'll do neither, we will come to them and make them scur away as swift as stones in force from the old Assyrian slings. Besides, we'll cut the throats of those we have, and not a man of them that we shall take shall taste our mercy. Go and tell them so.
Here comes the herald of the French, my liege.
His eyes are humbler than they used to be.
How now, what means this, herald? Knowst thou not that I have fined these bones of mine for ransom? Comest thou again for ransom?
No, great king, I come to thee for a charitable license, that we may wander over this bloody field to book our dead and then to bury them, to sort our nobles from our common men. For many of our princes, woe the while, lie drowned and soaked in mercenary blood. So do our vulgar, drench their peasant limbs in blood of princes, and their wounded steeds fret, fetlock deep in gore, and with wild rage yerk out their armed heels at their dead masters, killing them twice. Oh, give us leave, great king, to view the field in safety and dispose of their dead bodies.
I tell thee truly, herald, I know not if the day be ours or no, for yet a many of your horsemen peer and gallop o'er the field.
The day is yours.
Praise be to God. And not our strength for it. What is this castle called that stands hard by?
They call it Agincourt.
And call we this the field of Agincourt, fought on the day of Crispianus.
Your grandfather, of famous memory, and it please your majesty, and your great uncle Edward the Black, Prince of Wales, as I have read in the chronicles, fought a most brave prattle here in France.
They did, Fluellen.
Your majesty says very true. If your majesty is remembered of it, the Welshmen did good service in a garden where leeks did grow, wearing leeks in their Monmouth caps, which your majesty know to this hour is an honorable badge of the service, and I do believe your majesty takes no scorn to wear the leek upon St. Tavy's day.
I wear it for a memorable honor, for I am Welsh, you know, good countrymen.
All the water and wine cannot wash your majesty's Welsh blood out of your body. I can tell you that. God bless it and preserve it, as long as it pleases his grace and his majesty too.
Thanks, good country, my good countrymen.
By Jesu, I am your majesty's countryman. I care not who know it. I will confess it to all the world. I need not be ashamed of your majesty. Praised be God, so long as your majesty is an honest man.
God keep me so. Our heralds, go with him. Bring me just notice of the numbers dead on both our parts. Call yonder fellow hither.
Soldier, you must come to the king.
Soldier, why wearest thou that glove in thy cap?
And please your majesty, 'tis the gage of one that I should fight withal if he be alive.
An Englishman?
And please your majesty, a rascal that swaggered with me last night, who, if alive and ever dared to challenge this glove, I have sworn to take him a box of the ear. Or if I can see my glove in his cap, which he swore, as he was a soldier, he would wear it if alive, I will strike it out soundly.
What think you, Captain Fluellen? Is it fit this soldier should keep his oath?
He is a craven and villain else, and it please your majesty and my conscience.
Maybe his enemy is a gentleman of great sort, quite from the answer of his degree.
Though he be as good a gentleman as the devil is, as Lucifer and Beelzebub himself, it is necessary, look your grace, that he keep his vow and his oath. If he be perjured, see you now, his reputation is as arrant a villain and a jacksauce as ever his plack shoe trod upon God's ground and his earth in my conscience law.
And keep thy vow, Sirrah, when thou meets the fellow.
So I will, my liege, as I live.
Who servest thou under?
Under Captain Gower, my liege.
Gower is a good captain, and his good knowledge in literature in the wars.
Call him hither to me, soldier.
I will, my liege.
Here, Fluellen, wear thou this favor for me and stick it in thy cap. Then Alanson and myself were down together. I plucked this glove from his helm. If any man challenge this, he is a friend to Alanson and an enemy to our person. If thou encounter any such, apprehend him, and thou dost me love.
Your grace does me as great honors as can be desired in the hearts of his subjects. I would fain see the man that has but 2 legs, that shall find himself aggrieved at this glove, that is all. But I would fain see it once, and please God of his grace that I might see.
Knowst thou Gower?
He is my dear friend, and please you.
Well, pray thee, go seek him and bring him to my tent.
I will fetch him.
My lord of Warwick and my brother Gloucester, follow Fluellen closely at the heels. The glove which I have given him for a favor may haply purchase him a box of the ear. It is the soldier's. I by bargain should wear it myself. Follow, good cousin Warwick. If that the soldier strike him, as I judge by his blunt bearing, he will keep his word. Some sudden mischief may arise of it. For I do know Fluellen valiant and touched with choler, hot as gunpowder, and quickly will return an injury. Follow, and see there be no harm between them. Go you with me, Uncle Exeter.
I warrant it is tonight you, Captain.
God's will and his pleasure, Captain. I beseech you now, come apace to the king. There is more good toward your peradventure than is in your knowledge to dream of.
Sir, know you this glove?
Know the glove? I know the glove is a glove.
I know this, and thus I challenge it.
Sblood! An errant traitors Indians in the universal world, or in France or in England.
Now, sir, you villain.
Do you think I'll be forsworn?
Stand away, Captain Gower. I will give treason his payment into plows, I warrant you.
I am no traitor.
That's a lie in thy throat. I charge you in his majesty's name, apprehend him. He's a friend of the Duke Alanson's.
How now? How now? What's the matter?
My lord of Warwick, here is, praised be God for it, a most contagious treason come to light, look you, as you shall desire in a summer's day. Here is his majesty.
Oh, now, what's the matter?
My liege, here is a villain and a traitor that, look your grace, has struck the glove which your majesty is take out of the helmet of Alanson.
My liege, this was my glove. Here is the fellow of it, and he that I gave it to in change promised to wear it in his cap. I promised to strike him if he did. I met this man with my glove in his cap, and I have been as good as my word.
Your majesty here now, saving your majesty's manhood, what an errant, rascally, beggarly, lousy knave it is. I hope your majesty has spare me testimony and witness, and will avouchment that this is the glove of Alanson that your majesty has given me in your conscience now.
Give me the glove, soldier. Look, here is the fellow of it. 'Twas I indeed thou promised to strike, and thou hast given me most bitter terms.
And please your majesty, let his neck answer for it, if there is any martial law in the world.
How canst thou make me satisfaction?
All offenses, my lord, come from the heart, and never came any from mine that might offend your majesty.
It was ourself thou didst abuse.
Your majesty came not like yourself. You appeared to me but as a common man. Witness the night, your garments, your lowliness, and what your highness suffered under the shape. I beseech you, take it for your own fault and not mine, for had you been as I took you for, I made no offense. Therefore I beseech your highness, pardon me.
Here, Uncle Exeter, fill this glove with crowns and give it to this fellow. Keep it, fellow, and wear it for an honor in thy cap till I do challenge it. Give him the crowns, and captain, you must needs be friends with him.
By this day and this light, this fellow has metal enough in his belly. Hold, there is 12 pence for you, and I pray you to serve God and keep you out of brawls and troubles and quarrels and dissensions, and I warrant you, it is the better for you.
I will none of your money.
It is with a good will. I can tell you it will serve you to mend your shoes. Come, wherefore should you be so bashful? Your shoes is not so good. 'Tis a good silling, I warrant you, or I will change it.
Now, brother, are the dead numbered?
Here is the number of the slaughtered French.
What prisoners of good sort are taken, uncle?
Charles, Duke of Orleans, nephew to the king. John, Duke of Bourbon, and Lord Boucicault. Of other lords and barons, knights and squires, full 1,500, besides common men.
This note doth tell me of 10,000 French that in the field lie slain. Of princes in this number and nobles bearing banners, there lie dead 126. Added to these of knights, esquires, and gallant gentlemen, 8,400, of the which 500 were but yesterday dubbed knights, so that in these 10,000 they have lost, there are but 1,600 mercenaries. The rest are princes, barons, lords, knights, squires, and gentlemen of blood and quality. The names of those their nobles that lie dead: Charles de la Breth, High Constable of France; Jacques of Chatillon, Admiral of France; the Master of the Crossbows, Lord Rambures, Great Master of France; the brave Sir Guichard Dauphin; John Duke of Alençon; Anthony Duke of Brabant, the brother to the Duke of Burgundy; and Edward Duke of Bar; of lusty Earls Grandpre and Rossi, Falconbridge and Foix, Beaumont and Marle, Vaudemont and Lestrake. Here was a royal fellowship of death. Where's the number of our English dead? Edward, the Duke of York, the Earl of Suffolk, Sir Richard Ketley, Davy Gam, Esquire. None else of name, and of all other men but 25. God, thy arm was here, and not to us, but to thy arm alone ascribe we all, when without stratagem, but in plain shock and even play of battle, was ever known so great and little loss on one part and on the other? Take it, God, for it is none but thine. Come, go we in procession to the village, and be it death proclaimed through our host to boast of this, or take the praise from God, which is his only.
Is it not lawful, and please your majesty, to tell how many is killed?
Yes, Captain, but with this acknowledgement, that God fought for us.
Yes, my conscience, he did us great good.
Do we all holy rites? Let there be sung Non Nobis and Te Deum, the dead with charity enclosed in clay, and then to Calais and to England then, where ne'er from France arrived more happy men.
Vouchsafe to those that have not read the story that I may prompt them, and of such as have, I humbly pray them to admit the excuse of time, of numbers, and due course of things, which cannot in their huge and proper life be here presented. Now we bear the king towards Kelley. Grant him there Then seen, heave him away upon your winged thoughts athwart the sea. Behold the English beach, pale in the flood with men, wives, and boys, whose shouts and claps outvoice the deep-mouthed sea, which like a mighty whiffler for the king seems to prepare his way. So let him land, and solemnly see him set on to London. So swift a pace, hath thought that even now you may imagine him upon Blackheath, where the lords desire him to have borne his bruised helmet and his bended sword before them through the city. He forbids it, being free from vainness and self-glorious pride, giving full trophy, signal, and ostent quite from himself to God. But now behold, in the quick forge and working house of thought, how London doth pour out her citizens, the mayor and all his brethren in best sort, like to the senators of the antique Rome, with the plebeians swarming at their heels, go forth and fetch their conquering Caesar in. As by a lower, but by loving likelihood, were now the general of our gracious empress, as in good time he may, from Ireland coming, bringing a rebellion broached on his sword, how many would the peaceful city quit to welcome him? Much more, and much more cause, did they this harry. Now in London place him, and yet the lamentation of the French invites the King of England's stay at home. The emperor is coming in behalf of France to order peace between them, and amid all the occurrences, whatever chanced, till Harry's back return again to France, and there must we leave him, and myself have played the interim, by remembering you, 'tis past. Then brook abridgment, and your eyes advance after your thoughts straight back again to France.
Nay, that's right. But why wear you your leek today? St. Davy's Day is past.
There is occasions and causes why and wherefore in all things. I will tell you as my friend, Captain Gower, the rascally scald, beggarly, lousy, praguing knave pistol, which you and yourself and all the world know to be no better than a fellow, look you now of no merits. He is come to me, and brings me bread and salt yesterday, look you, and bid me eat my leek. It was in a place where I could not breed no contention with him, but I will be so bold as to wear it in my cap till I see him once again, and then I will tell him a little piece of my desires.
Why, here he comes, swelling like a turkey cock.
Yeah, 'tis no matter for his swellings nor his turkey cocks. God bless you, ancient pistol, you scurvy, lousy knave, God bless you.
Art thou bedlam? Dost thou thirst, base Troyan, to have me fold up Parca's fatal web? Hence, I am qualmish at the smell of leek.
I beseech you heartily, scurvy, lousy knave, at my desires and my requests and my petitions to eat, look you, this leek, because look you, you do not love it, nor your affections and your appetites and your digestions does not agree with it. I would desire you to eat it.
Not for Cadwallader and all his goats.
There is one goat for you. Would you be so good, scald knave, as eat it?
Base Troyan, thou shalt die.
Say very true. Scald knave, when God's will is, I will desire you to live in the meantime and eat your victuals. Come, there is sauce for it. You called me yesterday mountain squire, but I will make you today a squire of low degree. I pray you fall to. If you can mock a leek, you can eat a leek.
Enough, Captain. You have astonished him.
I say, I will make him eat some part of my leek, or I will peat his pate 4 days. Bite, I pray you. It is good for your green wound and your bloody coxcomb.
Must I bite?
Yes, certainly, and out of doubt, and out of question too, and ambiguities.
By this leak I will most horribly revenge. I eat and eat, I swear.
Eat, I pray you. Will you have some more sauce to your leek? There is not enough leek to swear by.
Quiet thy cudgel, thou dost see. I eat.
Much good do you, scald knave, heartily. Nay, pray you throw none away. The skin is good for your broken coxcomb. When you take occasions to see leeks hereafter, I pray you mock at them, that is all.
Good.
Aye, leeks is good. Hold you. There is a groat to heal your pate.
Me a groat?
Yes, verily. And in truth you shall take it, or I have another leek in my pocket which you shall eat.
I take thy groat in earnest of revenge.
If I owe you anything, I will pay you in cudgels. You shall be a woodmonger and buy nothing of me but cudgels. God buy you and keep you and heal your pate.
All hell shall stir for this.
Go, go, you are a counterfeit, cowardly knave. Will you mock an ancient tradition, begun upon an honorable respect, and worn as a memorable trophy of predecessed valor, and dare not avouch in your deeds any of your words? I have seen you gleeking and galling at this gentleman twice or thrice. You thought because he could not speak good English in the native garb, he could not therefore handle an English cudgel? You find it otherwise, and henceforth let a Welsh connection teach you a good English condition. Fare ye well.
Doth fortune play the housewife with me now? News have I that my doll is dead in the spittle of a malady of France, and there my rendezvous is quite cut off. Old I do wax, and from my weary limbs honor is cudgeled. Well, bawd I'll turn, and something lean to cut purse of quick hand. To England will I steal, and there I'll steal. And patches will I get unto these cudgeled scars, and swear I got 'em in the Gallia wars.
Peace to this meeting, wherefore we are met. Unto our brother France and to our sister, health and fair time of day. Joy and good wishes to our most fair and princely cousin Catherine, and as a branch and member of this royalty, by whom this great assembly is contrived, we do salute you, Duke of Burgundy, and princes French and peers. Health to you all.
Right joyous are we to behold your face, most worthy brother England. Fairly met. So are you, princes English, every one.
So happy be the issue, brother England, of this good day and of this gracious meeting, as we are now glad to behold your eyes which hitherto have borne in them against the French that met them in their bent the fatal balls of murdering basilisks. The venom of such looks we fairly hope have lost their quality, and that this day shall change all griefs and quarrels into love.
To cry amen to that, thus we appear.
You English princes all, I do salute you.
My duty to you both on equal love. Great kings of France and England, that I have labored with all my wits, my pains, and strong endeavors to bring your most imperial majesties unto this bar and royal interview, your mightiness on both parts best can witness. Since then my office hath so far prevailed, that face to face and royal eye to eye you have congreted. Let it not disgrace me if I demand before this royal view what rub or what impediment there is, why that the naked, poor, and mangled peace, dear nurse of arts, plenties, and joyful birth, should not in this best garden of the world, our fertile France, put up her lovely visage. Alas, she hath from France too long been chased, and all her husbandry doth lie on heaps, corrupting in its own fertility. Her vine, the merry cheerer of the heart, unpruned dies, her hedges, even pleached, like prisoners, wildly overgrown with hair, put forth disordered twigs. Her fallow lees, the darnel, hemlock, and rank fermentary, doth root upon, while that the coulter rusts that should deracinate such savagery, the even mead that erst brought sweetly forth the freckled cowslip, burnet, and green clover, wanting the sigh withal uncorrected rank, conceives by idleness, and nothing teems but hateful docks, rough thistles, kexies, burrs, losing both beauty and utility. And all our vineyards, fallows, meads, and hedges, defective in their natures, grow to wildness. Even so, our houses and ourselves and children have lost, or do not learn for want of time, the sciences that should become our country, but grow like savages, as soldiers will that nothing do but meditate on blood, to swearing and stern looks, to fused attire, and everything that seems unnatural. Which, to reduce into our former favor, you are assembled. And my speech entreats that I may know the let why gentle peace should not expel these inconveniences, and bless us with her former qualities.
If, Duke of Burgundy, you would the peace, whose want gives growth to imperfections which you have cited, you must buy that peace with full accord to all our just demands, whose tenures and particular effects you have scheduled briefly in your hands.
The king hath heard them, to the which as yet there is no answer made.
Well then, the peace, which you before so urged, lies in his answer.
I have but with a cursory eye or glance the articles. Please your grace to appoint some of your council presently to sit with us once more with better heed to resurvey them. We will suddenly pass our accept and peremptory answer.
Brother, we shall. Go, Uncle Exeter, and Brother Clarence, and you, Brother Gloucester, Warwick, and Huntington, go with the king, and take with you free power to ratify, augment, or alter as your wisdom's best shall see advantageable for our dignity, anything in or out of our demands, and will consign thereto. Will you, fair sister, go with the princes, or stay here with us?
Our gracious brother, I will go with them. Happily, a woman's voice may do some good when articles too nicely urged be stood on.
Yet leave our cousin Catherine here with us. She is our capital demand, comprised within the 4 ranks of our articles.
She hath good leave.
Fair Catherine, and most fair, will you vouchsafe to teach a soldier terms, such as will enter a lady's ear and plead his love suit to her gentle heart?
Your Majesty shall mock at me. I cannot speak your England.
Oh, fair Catherine, if you will love me soundly with your French heart, I will be glad to hear you confess it brokenly with your English tongue. Do you like me, Kate?
Pardonnez-moi, I cannot tell what is like me.
Oh, an angel is like you, Kate, and you are like an angel.
Que dit-il? Que je suis semblable à les anges?
Oui, vraiment, sur votre grâce, ainsi dit-il.
Well, I said so, dear Catherine, and I must not blush to affirm it.
Oh, bon Dieu, les langues des hommes sont pleines de tromperie.
What says she, fair one? That the tongues of men are full of deceits?
Oui, that the tongues of the men is be full of deceits. That is the princess.
Oh, the princess is the better Englishwoman. Faith, Kate, my wooing is fit for thy understanding. I'm glad thou can speak no better English, for if thou couldst, thou wouldst find me such a plain king that thou wouldst think I had sold my farm to buy my crown. I know no ways to mince it in love, but directly to say, I love you. Then if you urge me farther than to say, do you in faith, I wear out my suit. Give me your answer, faith, do, and so clap hands and bargain. How say you, lady?
So, votre honneur, me understand well?
Mary, if you would put me to verses or to dance for your sake, Kate, why, you undid me. For the one, I have neither words nor measure, and for the other, I have no strength in measure, and yet a reasonable measure in strength. If I could win a lady at leapfrog or by vaulting into my saddle with my armor on my back, or under the correction of bragging, be it spoken, I should quickly leap into a wife, or if I might buffet for my love or bound my horse for her favors, I could lay on like a butcher and sit like a jackanapes, never off. But before God, Kate, I cannot look greenly, nor gasp out of my eloquence, nor I have no cunning in protestation, only downright oaths, which I never use till urged, nor never break for urging. If thou canst love a fellow of this temper, Kate, whose face is not worth sunburning, that never looks in his glass for love of anything he sees there, let thine eye be thy cook. I speak to thee, plain soldier. If thou canst love me for this, take me. If not, to say to thee that I shall die is true. But for thy love, by the Lord, no. Yet I love thee too. And while thou livest, dear Kate, take a fellow of plain and uncoined constancy, for he perforce must do thee right, because he hath not the gift to woo in other places. For these fellows of infinite tongue that can rhyme themselves into ladies' favors, they do always reason themselves out again. What? A speaker is but a prater. A rhyme is but a ballad. A good leg will fall, a straight back will stoop, a black beard will turn white, a curled pate will grow bald, a fair face will wither, a full eye will wax hollow. But a good heart, Kate, is the sun and the moon. No, or rather the sun, not the moon. For it shines bright and never changes, but keeps his course truly. If thou would have such a one, take me, and take me. Take a soldier, take a soldier, take a king. And what sayst thou then to my love? Speak, my fair, and fairly, I pray thee.
Is it possible that I should love the enemy of France?
No. It's not possible you should love the enemy of France, Kate. But in loving me, you should love the friend of France. For I love France so well that I will not part with a village of it. I will have it all mine. And Kate, when France is mine and I am yours, then yours is France and you are mine.
I cannot tell what is that.
No, Kate, I will tell thee in French, which I'm sure will hang upon my tongue like a new married wife about her husband's neck, hardly to be shook off. Je crois sur la possession de France, et quand vous avez la possession de moi, let me see what Saint Dennis be my seat. Don votre es France et vous et mienne. It is as easy for me, Kate, to conquer the kingdom as to speak so much more French. I shall never move thee in French unless it be to laugh at me.
Sauf votre honneur, le François que vous parlez, il est meilleur que l'anglais à laquelle je parle.
No, Faith, it's not Kate, but thy speaking of my tongue and I thine most truly, falsely, must need be granted to be much at one. But Kate, dost thou understand thus much English? Canst thou love me?
I cannot tell.
Can any of your neighbors tell? Kate, I'll ask them. Come, I know thou lovest me, and at night when you come into your closet, you'll question this gentlewoman about me, and I know, Kate, you will to her dispraise those parts in me that you love with your heart. But good Kate, mock me mercifully, the rather gentle princess, because I love thee cruelly. If ever thou beest mine, Kate, as I have a saving faith within me tells me thou shalt, I get thee with scambling, and thou must therefore needs prove a good soldier breeder. Shall not thou and I between Saint Denis and Saint George compound a boy half French and half English, that shall go to Constantinople and take the Turk by the beard? Shall we not? What sayst thou, my fair flower de luce?
I do not know that.
No. 'Tis hereafter to know, but now to promise. Do but now promise, Kate. You will endeavor for your French part of such a boy, and for my English moiety, take the word of a king and a bachelor. How answer you? La plus belle Catherine du Mont, mon cher Shelley de Vendées?
Your Majesty have both French enough to deceive the most sage demoiselle that is in France.
Now fie upon my false French. But by mine honor, in true English, I love thee, Kate, by which honor I dare not swear thou lovest me, yet my blood begins to flatter me that thou dost, notwithstanding the poor and untempering effect of my visage. But now beshrew my father's ambition. He was thinking of civil wars when he got me. Therefore was I created with a stubborn outside, with an aspect of iron, that when I come to woo ladies, I fright them. But in faith, Kate, the elder I wax, the better I shall appear. My comfort is that old age, that ill-layered up beauty, can do no more spoil upon my face. Thou hast me, if thou hast me, at the worst, and thou shalt wear me, if thou wear me, better and better. And therefore tell me, most fair Catherine, will you have me? Put off your maiden blushes, avouch the thoughts of your heart with the looks of an empress. Take me by the hand and say, Harry of England, I am thine. Which word thou shalt no sooner bless mine ear withal, but I will tell thee aloud, England is thine, Ireland is thine, France is thine, and Henry Plantagenet is thine, who though I speak it before his face, if he be not fellow with the best king, thou shalt find the best king of good fellows. Come, your answer in broken music, for thy voice is music, and thy English broken. Therefore, queen of all, Catherine, break thy mind to me in broken English. Wilt thou have me?
That is as it shall please the roi mon père.
Nay, it will please him well, Kate. It shall please him, Kate.
Then it shall also content me.
Upon that, I kiss your hand and I call you my queen.
Oh, laissez, monseigneur, laissez. Ma foi, je ne veux point que vous abaissez votre grandeur en baisant la main d'un autre seigneur, indigne serviteur. Excusez-moi, je vous supplie, montrez puissant, seigneur.
Then I will kiss your lips, Kate.
Les dames et demoiselles pour être abaissées devant les nurses. Il n'est pas la coutume de France.
Madam, my interpreter, what says she?
That it is not to be fashion for the ladies of France. I cannot tell what is baiser en anglais.
To kiss?
Your Majesty entendra better que moi.
It is not a fashion for the maids in France to kiss before they're married, would she say?
Oui, vraiment.
Oh, Kate, nice customs. Curtsy to great kings. Dear Kate, you and I cannot be confined within the weak list of a country's fashion. We are the makers of manners, Kate, and the liberty that follows our places stops the mouths of all fine faults, as I will do yours, for upholding the nice fashion of your country in denying me a kiss. Therefore, patiently and yielding. Oh, you have witchcraft in your lips, Kate. There is more eloquence in a sugar touch of them than in the tongues of the French council, and they should sooner persuade Harry of England than a general petition of monarchs. Oh, here comes your father.
God save your majesty. My royal cousin teach you our princess English.
Well, I would have her learn, my fair cousin, how perfectly I love her, and that is good English.
Is she not apt?
Our tongue is rough, cuz, and my condition is not smooth, so that having neither the voice nor the heart of flattery about me, I cannot so conjure up the spirit of love in her that he will appear in his true likeness.
Pardon the frankness of my mirth if I answer you for that. If you would conjure in her, you must make a circle. If conjure up love in her in his true likeness, you must appear naked and blind. Can you blame her then, being a maid, yet rosed over with the virgin crimson of modesty, if she deny the appearance of a naked blind boy in her naked seeing self? 'Twere, my lord, a hard condition for a maid to consign to.
Yet they do wink and yield, as love is blind and enforces.
They are then excused, my lord, when they see not what they do.
Then good my lord, teach your cousin to consent winking.
I will wink on her to consent, my lord, if you will teach her how to know my meaning. For maids, well summered and warm kept, are like the flies at Bartholomew tide, blind though they have their eyes, and then they will endure handling, which before would not abide looking on.
This moral ties me over to time in a hot summer, and so I shall catch the fly, your cousin, in the latter end. She must be blind too.
As love is, my lord, before it loves.
It is so, and you may, some of you, thank love for my blindness, who cannot see many a fair French city for one fair French maid that stands in my way.
Yes, my lord, you see them prospectively. The city's turned into a maid, for they're all girdled with maiden balls that war hath never entered.
Shall Kate be my wife?
So please you.
I am content. So the maiden cities you talk of may wait on her. So the maid that stood in the way for my wish shall show me the way to my will.
We have consented to all terms of reason.
Is so, my lords of England.
The king hath granted every article, his daughter first, and in the sequel all, according to their firm proposed natures.
Only he hath not yet subscribed this, where your majesty demands that the king of France, having any occasion to write for matter of grant, shall name your highness in this form and with this edition in French. Notre très cher fils Henri, roi d'Angleterre, héritier de France. And thus in Latin, Clarissimus filius noster Enricus rex Angliae et Harris Franciae.
Nor this I have not, brothers, so demand. But your request shall make me let it pass.
I pray you then, in love and dear alliance, let that one article rank with the rest, and thereupon give me your daughter.
Take her, fair son, and from the blood raised up issues to me, that this contending kingdoms of France and England, whose very shores look pale, they look pale with envy of each other's happiness. They cease their battered in this dear conjuncture, plant neighborhood and Christian-like accord in their sweet bosoms, that never war advance, his bleeding sword twist England and fair France.
Now, welcome, Kate, and bear me witness all that here I kiss her as my sovereign queen.
God, the best maker of all marriages, combine your hearts in one, your realms in one, as man and wife being two are one in love, so be there twixt your kingdoms such a spousal that may never ill office or felt jealousy, which troubles oft the bed of blessed marriage, thrust in between the paction of these kingdoms to make divorce of their incorporate league, that English may, as French, Englishmen, receive each other. God speak this. Amen.
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 Prepare we for our marriage, on which day my lord of Burgundy will take your oath, and all the peers, for surety of our leagues. Then shall I swear to Kate and you to me, and may our oaths well kept and prosperous be.
Thus far, with rough and all unable pen, our bending author hath pursued the story, in little room confining mighty men, mangled by starts the full course of their glory. Small time, but in that small most greatly lived this star of England. Fortune made his sword, by which the world's best garden he achieved, and all of it left his son, imperial lord. Henry VI, in infant bands crowned King of France and England, did this king succeed, whose state so many had the managing that they lost France and made his England bleed, which oft our stage hath shown, and for their sake, in your fair minds, let this acceptance take.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to our final chapter in this first tetralogy of the Henriade. Thank you to all of you who have played multiple characters across these 4 plays. And we'll be back next week with a brand new play. What's it going to be? We don't know. And then we'll be back later on in the run with the second Henriade. So stay tuned.